Americans filed their first claims for state jobless benefits in the week leading up to January 31st. That's an increase of 22,000 from the week before and the highest number since mid-December.
That's ABC's Jim Ryan reporting. It'll be more expensive to host a Super Bowl gathering this year, but not by much. The price to feed about 10 people with the typical game day fare is around $140 this year, up about 1.5% from Super Bowl 59. But your average cost for groceries in general has gone up about 2.5%. Your money at this moment, the markets are way down this morning. The Dow is down 576. That's 1.2%. The Nasdaq down 1.5%. The Dow right now is at 48,925. Coming up, hazy sunshine is the rule for the next few days. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time 9:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Does it feel like someone's stabbing a knife into your heel? Or does your lower back give you problems as the day goes on? The Good Feet store wants to help you like we helped Ann.
Every time I stood up, pain just shot up my legs. Fortunately, I found the Good Feet store. I went to them after my doctor diagnosed me with plantar fasciitis. And now, thanks to the Good Feet store, I'm 100%.
Wouldn't it be nice to get back to doing what you love, like Patrick did?
I was in constant pain. Somehow my fiance and I found our way into the Good Feet store. Put my foot on the arch support system. I put them in my shoes, my back, my knees, my ankles. Thank you. Thank you, everybody at the Good Feet store. You gave me my active life back.
Learn more or schedule an appointment at goodfeet.com and come in and get your free personalized fitting at the Good Feet store. We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. Did you know that we offer 3 distinct styles of gutter protection? Each one meant to handle a specific leaf problem. You might not even know there are different styles of gutter protection, but there are. And if you pick the wrong one, it could be a huge waste of money. Now, the big gutter guard companies won't tell you this. They try to sell you a one-size-fits-all gutter guard. And it could be completely wrong for the amount and types of trees and leaves you have. Not RGS Exteriors. We understand which kind of leaf problem needs which kind of gutter guard. We'll do an in-depth evaluation to assess the types, locations, and numbers of trees in your yard. Based on that data, we match your home to the right gutter guard. So don't risk wasting money on the wrong gutter protection. For a free evaluation and estimate, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's 801-280-3110 or rgsexteriors.com.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. Beware of telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you. Callers threatening you with arrest or other legal action and demanding money are not from us. If you receive a call like this, hang up, do not provide them with any form of payment or information. Report the call at oig.ssa.gov.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by UCCU. Transfer savings, earn more. UCCU, love where you bank. And here's Jason Jones.
Still trying to clean up the accident westbound on the south belt, headed over towards the south interchange there. The 2 right lanes remain blocked. Lots of debris still on the road there, and it's going to take them a while to get that all figured out at this point. That's really the only major slow spot. If you're northbound I-15, a little sluggish coming off the point of the mountain, and again at about 13 south, but neither of those spots is like really heavily backed up, just a little less than 70 miles an hour. Going to be slow or crowded or busy or whatever you want to call it. 2100 North and Pioneer Crossing in Lehigh, although it's better than it was just maybe 30 minutes ago as the volume clears out on those 2 roads. Step aboard history, walk through recreation, see real artifacts, and feel the legacy of Titanic, the exhibition. Open now at the shops at Southtown and Sandy. Tickets at thetitanicexhibition.com. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
Sunshine today with a high of 55. We get up to 57 on Sunday. Chance of rain next Tuesday. Right now it's 36 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio. Eye on the Hill 2026. Special coverage on Inside Sources.
Utah lawmakers are considering changing the legislation as it relates to the possession of marijuana, simple possession of marijuana, and recategorizing the level of that crime. What this would do, and I'm looking at House Bill 253, Holly, sponsored by our next guest, Grant Miller, would change the penalties for first-time and subsequent possessors of marijuana if the quantity is a small amount.
Can you just really briefly, before we bring our guest on, explain how the law works now with marijuana possession?
Yeah, marijuana possession now, if it depends on the amount, of course, but in a small amount, current possession of marijuana, simple possession, is what we call a Class B misdemeanor. It's the same level as a drunk driving or perhaps a shoplift.
Okay.
It carries up to 6 months in jail and a fine of up to $1,000. So under this, it would reduce that level down from a Class B misdemeanor. Now, this is for a first-time offender to what we call an infraction, which is still under the code, but it's not technically a criminal. It's not at a misdemeanor level.
Okay. Well, we do have Representative Grant Miller on the line, who is the sponsor of this bill. Thank you for joining us this morning, Representative.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So I am pretty naive when it comes to marijuana laws, and I'm wondering if you could talk to us. Greg just briefly explained what the law is now. What would you want this law to do specifically?
No, I appreciate the opportunity. So I've been a defense lawyer for about 8 years, most of that as a public defender. But before that, I worked privately. I worked around the state working on a lot of marijuana defense. One thing I want to clarify on the bill is I've been working with our law enforcement partners to make a lot of tweaks. So I have a substitute on the bill. And what I have before committee today is a little bit of a different proposal. The infraction thing is a non-starter, but what my bill now does is that if you have less than 8 grams of marijuana, you have no criminal history, then you qualify for an automatic deferment. You just get a ticket, you could go online, you could pay that ticket, and then you don't get a conviction on your criminal history. It would also change the charging mechanism. So beyond 8 grams would be a Class A misdemeanor, and it also defines felony distribution at 71 grams.
Oh, so possession of more than 8 grams would grant increase from a currently Class B to a Class A misdemeanor?
That's what the substitute on the bill does, yes.
Okay, and so why 8 grams? Because the current legislation talks about 14 grams, which is a half an ounce, and it is what I think most users would consider sort of personal use, the little baggie that a lot of people get. What's the magic of 8 grams?
Well, it depends, and 14 ounces is what I originally thought of because that's what Louisiana does, and Louisiana is a red state like us, and they also have tourism, and also they have medicinal marijuana. Now, our law enforcement community partners looked at 8 grams because that's a quarter ounce, and they wanted to have more of a tiered system, and so I listened to them and took that into consideration. We're still tweaking with the details of the bill. Like I said, we're still yet to go to committee this afternoon, but kind of working there and understanding the weights. Also to kind of inform listeners here about what a gram actually is, because it's all very abstract until you apply it to something. If you go to Colorado or Nevada and you go and buy a pre-rolled joint, those are about a gram. And so if you can envision 8 grams, that's about 8 of those joints.
Okay, well, that makes sense. So let me ask you this. Just for the benefit of our listeners, Grant, can you tell them what a deferment means? Because we talk about plea in abeyance, we talk about diversions, and we talk about different things. What do you mean by a deferment?
No, I appreciate the clarification because otherwise it's just all legalese. Right. But deferment means that you jump through some hoops, you avoid a criminal history, you don't avoid a criminal conviction if you fulfill some requirements, and in this case it'd be a fine and staying out of trouble for a period of time. To give you some background about why I'm interested in pursuing this bill, when I worked all over the state, I saw a lot of inconsistencies with marijuana enforcement. In Salt Lake City, I saw a very different approach to marijuana enforcement than I saw in very rural areas of the state. I went to Snow College, for example, and one of my friends got caught first-time possession of marijuana, wound up doing 10 days in jail. And as a lawyer, I also saw people do jail time for first-time marijuana possession. I've represented people from outside of the state, and many of our neighboring states have marijuana legal for recreational purposes, Colorado, Nevada, Arizona, and they drive through with, say a weed pen and don't understand that there's a meaningful penalty in Utah that you could go to jail for up to 6 months for simple possession of any amount of marijuana. And I believe in fair chances and second chances. Like, I think that we need to have a fair marijuana policy that lets out-of-staters know, like, marijuana is not legal here, but also doesn't saddle people up with incarceration and criminal records to go back to their own state and suffer the consequences there. That my hope is that this bill finds that balance where we're not really burdening and hurting people that didn't know or are otherwise not hurting our communities, but focusing on the other side for illicit distribution of marijuana.
So, Representative, you also mentioned having more than 71 grams. Does that then start to fit into a category of distribution?
Well, I believe so. So let me kind of explain what we do now. If you look up our marijuana statute, it will say Class B misdemeanor possession is 99 pounds or less. And the reason why that's structured that way is that our criminal system isn't based on weights as it currently is. It's either you have it or you don't. And intent to distribute is based on that intent language. So a prosecutor and law enforcement, in order to prove distribution, needs to point to something like maybe it's cash, maybe it's scales, maybe it's baggy, something with the marijuana that indicates it. What my bill does is clarify that at some point you have enough that it crosses a threshold that it's per se distribution. This stuff you have it, you're likely have it for the purpose of selling it. And 71 is beyond 2.5 ounces. And if you recall the analogy to pre-rolled joints, that's 71 pre-rolled joints, which is plenty.
Grant, from what you're describing, and this is sort of news to me, with this substitute amendment and input from law enforcement, it does give me some confidence that this bill's moving forward a little bit.
Yes, normally, when you hear about marijuana stuff, particularly you have a Democrat like me running it, there's a lot of skepticism that the bill is actually going to do anything. And I've been working very hard with all stakeholders to make sure we have a comprehensive policy. I don't believe in trying to ram anything through. I believe that good policy is created when you bring everyone to the table, get all of the input that you can, and you draft something that everyone can sign off on. That said, my proposal with the courts, where you get like an email, you go online and pay a fine, has a couple of issues that I got to work out. And so if I can't get it through committee today, it's because I got to work out a few technical issues with the courts. But that said, I've talked to the committee members, and I'm optimistic. I think that we do have the whip count to pass it. But that said, I don't want to push this into an infrastructure that doesn't exist yet. I want to make sure everything's good to go before we fully pull out the bill.
All right. Thanks so much. That was Representative Grant Miller. And when we come back, Greg, I'm going to ask you how this plays into President Trump's recent executive order about marijuana and maybe what we're seeing across the country. So stay with us over the break.
Amanda, I've been taught to begin with the end in mind. And when it comes to something like weight loss, that's really, really important because some weight loss plans have no end. It's like another refill or another bill or another year. But soda weight loss has a finish line.
You learn it once, you use it forever. And I'm all about health. I mean, I don't want to have my body become addicted to another drug that I have to take forever in order to be healthy. I want the opposite of that. I want fewer medications. I want my body to learn how to do this on its own and be strong.
For so many weight loss drugs, you have to just take them forever in order to maintain that feeling when you cross the finish line. Yeah. When I hit 70 pounds that I let go of in 5 months, what an amazing feeling. And it was amazing to know I could just go forward from this point.
You can talk to a nutritionist and ask all your questions at 866-800-SODA.
Or you can go to sotaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Because at SOTA, join us for a short time to have results that last a lifetime.
Attention Jazz Nation. The long wait is finally over. Mountain basketball is back and better than ever. Let's go! All tickets are on sale now, and you won't want to miss the action. Jump on the opportunity opportunity to watch your favorite players live and in person. Whether you're after season tickets, mini plans, or single game matchups, the Utah Jazz has got your back. There's a plan for every fan. Don't miss out. Secure your seats today and be part of the excitement all season long. Let's go! Visit UtahJazz.com today.
Hi, I'm Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. When the IRS invades your life, it's never good news. Keep in mind, it's not just you.
I owed roughly $34,000.
$61,000. When the IRS first contacted me, I was horrified.
When they start hounding you and harassing you and assaulting you.
Don't face the IRS alone. With everything in your life at stake, don't trust just anyone.
From what I got told was being done in a matter of 2 years, he had done in a matter of like 48 hours.
It's a great thing to have the IRS off your back.
We have reduced our tax liability by over $42,000.
Once I signed on with Jordan, I never talked to the IRS again.
It changed our lives.
You need someone to fight for you. Visit endtaxworry.com and get relief today. Let's solve your tax problems now. Visit endtaxworry.com. That's endtaxworry.com.
Women go through many changes in their lives. And we believe each milestone matters. That every new candle represents another step in your story. Our healthcare experts support women at every stage of life. Because each chapter deserves to be celebrated. Women's health. Nurture what's next. Find care near you at mountain.commonspirit.org. Common Spirit Health. Human kindness lives here.
How do you stay humble when you're America's #1 wiper blade? That's what we're currently dealing with at Rain-X. Is it even possible to humble brag when you bully Mother Nature like we do? Do we sound too conceited if we keep repeating how Rain-X is the #1 brand of wiper blades in America? No, we'll take a lesson from our wipers and just keep doing our job with humility. As America's #1 wiper blade. Rain-X. Outsmart the elements.
This year's tax changes. Better not get caught snoozing. Miss one deduction, lose thousands. Not amusing.
Big tax changes can mean bigger refunds at Jackson Hewitt. And right now, get $100 just to try us.
Don't worry, tax filers. If money is tight, get $100 from Jackson Hewitt, so you'll sleep better at night.
Limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with a sun protection factor, or SPF, of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. UVA rays age the skin, UVB rays burn, and both cause cancer. But the perfect sunscreen doesn't count if you use it wrong. Don't need sunscreen on a cloudy day? Wrong. 80% of UV rays still get through the haze. Only use sunscreen at the beach? Nope. Anytime you're outside, UV rays attack the skin, so you need protection. And you have to reapply sunscreen every 2 hours. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Eye on the Hill 2026. Special coverage on Inside Sources.
Our country is divided into 50 states, Holly, and it seems like we almost have 50 different rules
Marijuana
and regulations and marijuana laws. And even within the state of Utah, as it occurs in every state, you have state and federal law, and they're not the same.
Exactly.
Under federal law, possession of marijuana is still a crime, period. So is it enforced? It absolutely is. People say, well, I have a medical marijuana card. Well, don't go into a national park. Don't go to a national forest. Don't go into a federal building because federal law applies. It does. otherwise, but the federal government doesn't typically get involved in law enforcement except on federal property. So if you think you have your medical marijuana legally at Bryce Canyon, you're in deep trouble with the federal government. It still is a crime under federal law.
So, look, we already had a couple of texts on this marijuana discussion. I'm happy to take more, but both of our texters, one is saying just don't change the law. It's fine as it is. And the other one is like, look, I live in a condo, and one of my neighbors can smell marijuana from the unit next door. What type of changes are we talking about here in Utah? Because we just talked with Representative Grant Miller, who's proposing some changes, and they're fluid and they're moving even as we were talking to him. But what are we looking at changing here?
Yeah, so currently possession of marijuana without a medical card in any amount is a crime.
Right.
And currently even a small amount is what we call a Class B misdemeanor.
Let me just stop you. So with a card, you can't have the actual leaf though, right?
Well, you can if it was given to you at a pharmacy.
Because I thought it was just CBD.
No. You can get THC with a medical card in Utah. That's CBD.
Okay.
CBD, I think you can buy at the drugstore. I mean, I think you can buy CBD.
See, that's why you're here.
But
I don't know anything about marijuana.
THC and CBD are two different things. Although in a marijuana plant, you'd expect to find both. Now, I don't pretend to be an expert, but I've never been to a dispensary in Utah. But I believe if you have a prescription, you can go and buy what we call weed, which is the green leafy substance that you smoke. I suppose you can also buy gummies or vape pens or something like that, but you can purchase marijuana under Utah law if you have a medical marijuana card, which means you have a certain medical condition that qualifies you to possess marijuana with that card. That's the current state of the law. Without that, it's a crime. And in federal property, it's a crime. So Grant Miller's bill, the one we just talked to, and it's changed. It changed even since we started the program today.
Right.
It's a substitute amendment now where less than a quarter ounce, which is 8 grams, a very small amount, what you'd have in 8 sort of, he called them joints, but it looks like a little cigarette. If you have 8 grams or less, and it's your first offense, it's the first time you've been caught with marijuana, you would be, under his bill, entitled to what he calls a deferment, which means they would say, okay, we're not going to send this to the criminal court. We're not going to charge you, but you do have to pay a fine. And I'm assuming there will also be take a class or something like that for your first offense. Second offense, all bets are off. And in fact, from what he just told me, even a second offense would be an increase from what it is now, from a Class B to a Class A misdemeanor. So actually marijuana law under what he just talked about would be a more serious crime than it is today by a bit. So what I was looking at was, okay, what about the federal law? Because we saw President Trump in an executive order back in December 18th actually, he issued an executive order, which I want to clarify. Some people think he recategorized marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 controlled substance, and I'll talk about what that means. He didn't reclassify it. He directed the Attorney General to take whatever steps are necessary to reclassify it, because he can't reclassify a drug through an executive order.
There's a lot of stuff he can't do by executive order, but yeah, I had that question. Can he reclassify it? The answer is no.
Some of which maybe he's already done or tried to do. But in this case, he just said, I want to have the Attorney General take whatever steps are necessary to reclassify marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. Schedule 1 drugs are illegal drugs like heroin, like methamphetamine, drugs like that. Schedule 3 are drugs that are controlled but may be possessed by a prescription, like Tylenol with codeine.
Okay.
Or testosterone, ketamine, steroids, those type of things, which have been recognized as having medical use, have medical benefits, but shouldn't just be possessed. So what this bill would do is say, look, we recognize, and the bill goes through, the executive order goes through a lot of what the medical community has found to be the beneficial medical effects of marijuana, and said, okay, maybe we should make it legal if there is a medical reason for it and there should be a prescription. For example, they talk about the conditions that a person suffers through chemotherapy, including nausea, vomiting, that type of thing. And they have found that THC, marijuana, actually helps those conditions, helps people that are going through that. So if that's the case and the medical community supports that, this law would allow that medical marijuana be used for certain circumstances,
Sure.
including that.
Sure,
It would legalize it for those kind of purposes. Actually, what this bill would do, I keep calling it a bill, the presidential executive order would do is make federal law kind of consistent with Utah law. It's not recreational,
Right.
not at all.
Right.
It's still Schedule 3. It's still a controlled substance, but it can be used for certain medical purposes, and research can continue to decide if it can be used for other purposes medically.
Right. And I think that's one of the issues, right, is the reclassification allows for additional research. And we have a couple of other texter questions, but I also did, I did just a little search about the leaf, and you can't smoke it, right? So you even with a patient card.
Okay.
So that part is still
a vape, I guess, is what you could still do.
Yes, you can vape, but you can't smoke. So
Okay.
I don't know about that. But look, we have a texter that says, I'm confused because there's a store near me that's not a dispensary. It sells kratom and gummies, and that they contacted the Marijuana Regulation Board, and they said it's legal as long as it's below a certain amount. Do you know anything about the legality of what type of locations can sell gummies or CBD products?
There's no legal amount of marijuana, period. End of story. You can't have any quantity of marijuana in your gummies.
Okay.
You can have CBD, and kratom is something you can buy. Isn't that what they called the
gas station heroin, right?
That,
so
that may be changing.
That's a different thing,
fairly
right?
quickly. But yeah, I mean, no. You can't sell gummies that have.
But they call it medical marijuana, right? With CBD products.
Sure. Well, wait. We're getting far afield here. Okay, marijuana is THC. CBD is a different substance that is legal and which people purchase all the time. You see it at drugstores all the time, CBD, and it has certain benefits to people and to others not. But if you want THC, you want the thing in marijuana that gives you a buzz. That's the difference between THC and CBD. That requires a medical marijuana card in Utah, period. There's no exception to that. And federally, it's not even legal to possess anyway.
Yeah. So my understanding is this bill from Representative Miller does not legalize marijuana in the state, does not legalize recreational marijuana.
Period. Not at all.
At all.
Right.
But it makes possession of a tiny amount for the first time, maybe you can avoid jail.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So it's not legal, but it's not illegal. So it's decriminalized in small amounts. So your first time, it's a pass. You get a pass. It's like those fix-it tickets, you know what I mean, that I got the other day.
Yeah.
So you get a break. Okay, you get one freebie. We're not going to prosecute you. You still did wrong.
Right.
You still violated Utah law, but we're not going to take you into the criminal justice system. We're going to have a deferment. You stay out of trouble. You have no other issues. You pay what would be a civil remedy, a out-of-pocket expense, and we don't see you again. It will never affect your record, and you don't have to have the stigma of a drug possession on your record.
Okay, keep your nose clean. And so we'll follow this bill. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some pushback. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I was surprised when he said that. And Grant was pretty good. We're talking about the bill sponsor, Grant Miller, who talked about the fact that the medical community and others have had him tweak the bill a little bit.
Yeah, law enforcement as well.
And so it's working forward. It's going a little bit in terms of just a very small amount. Again, 8 grams, a very small amount, could be decriminalized, at least for a first-time offender. So have I confused you?
Yeah, but that's okay.
That's good. Well, when we come back after the break, we are going to see what else is going on with the legislature today, including a proposal that could bring back support for home daycares. We'll talk about that and what else is going on the Hill. Stay with us.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour: the state could soon get a third law school if a feasibility study works out. State Senator Brady Brammer wants Utah Valley University to look into the possibility of opening its own law school at the school's Thanksgiving Point campus.
You know, we've been at the same amount of supply of attorneys for about the last 40 years or so.
Brammer says UVU is Utah's largest public university and has a mission to remain affordable, and he says the school's been working with him on the proposal. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: members of the Tucson community came together to pray for the safe return of Nancy Guthrie at a local church.
Most merciful God, we pray for our sister Nancy. Guide her, comfort, and sustain her in this moment of need.
Two friends of Nancy say they met working in public relations together. The women are devastated by her disappearance. A Sierra Vista man says he made the trip out to support Nancy's daughter, Savannah, because he's a fan of the Today Show and says 3 of his nephews are U of A alumni just like her. Another couple never met Nancy, but know in-laws of the Guthries and wanted to come out to support the family. Heidi Hommel, KTAR News.
Heidi is with our sister station, KTAR, in Arizona. Your money at this moment. The markets are down this morning. The Dow is off 503 now. That's 1 full percent. We're at 49,022. Coming up, we've got a chance to clear out some of the haze in the air with rain coming in next week. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32. Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Andy, I like that shirt. Is that a new shirt?
It is. It's from Ann Collar, and it's really rare to find a shirt that looks good and is super comfortable. And this is a fabric unlike anything I've ever felt.
I got one for my husband and my sons, and they, watching my 19-year-old put on the Ann Collar shirt and sort of check himself out in the mirror, I thought, wow, he's really digging that. And I can understand why, because it's not just comfortable, it's stain repellent, which I needed.
Oh, my goodness.
Because, I mean, he attracts spaghetti sauce to shirts like you would not believe. And with these Ann Collar shirts, I can get it out.
Amanda, I have to wear a special bib when I eat spaghetti with a white shirt on. But with Ann Collar shirts, it takes those little tiny nicks and stains, and they don't stick to you. Yeah, you don't have to dump a bucket of stuff on you, but it would repel that, too.
You've got to try one. So whether it's the traditional white shirt or any of the patterns they have, it's Ann Collar, and they're made right here in Utah.
If you've never tried Ann Collar before, we have got permission to give you 15% off at andcollar.com and go get your first. Use the code KSL15.
That's AndCollar, ANDCollar.com.
Are your investments in the right accounts? What's best, traditional or Roth? Are you receiving all available tax deductions? Are you paying as little in tax as you can? These are all questions you can't afford to get wrong. Hi, I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth, and in many cases, it's not what you make, but it's what you keep that makes the real difference. Trajan Wealth and Trajan Tax work closely together exclusively. No more guessing about whether you should do a Roth conversion, or if maxing out your 401k is really the best option. Our nationally recognized fiduciary advisors and CPA team work in tandem to make sure your tax strategy works with your investment strategy. We'll even do your tax preparation. One team, one strategy. Isn't it time for a second opinion? Call Trajan today, 801-207-9900. That's 801-207-9900.
Trajan Wealth, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Additional services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax. Additional disclosures and accreditation at TrajanWealth.com.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore, and every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
This is the story of the one. As an HVAC technician, he and his digital multimeter are in high demand. So when a noisy office HVAC turns out to be a failing blower motor, he doesn't break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product information, he selects the product he needs to keep everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by UCCU. Supercharge your savings at UCCU.com. And back to you, Jason.
And Amanda, we're still dealing with this accident westbound on the South Belt approaching the South Interchange as the 2 right lanes remain blocked and probably will for a little while as they are still trying to clean this thing up. We had a truck roll over and catch on fire, and there's a bunch of debris all over the road, and that's what's causing all those slowdowns there. Now, it has gotten, of course, better because the volume has lessened over time, but it's still going to be slow if you're trying to make your way over to I-15. Speaking of slow, it's a little heavy right now, northbound on Mountain View Corridor at 3500 South. We assume that's just typical delays. We don't see an accident on camera there. And down in Utah County, 2100 North Pioneer Crossing are still a little bit heavy, although they're getting better as time goes on, so not quite nearly as bad as they were. Got an old car? Donate it at carsforkids.org. It's easy, and they'll pick it up as soon as tomorrow. Call 1-877-CARS-FOR-KIDS today. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
Sunny today, a high of 55 degrees. Few more clouds developing through the weekend. We've got a storm bringing some rain to the valley come next week. Usually, we're thinking around Tuesday is the best chance for rain. Right now, it's 37 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Eye on the Hill 2026. Special coverage on Inside Sources.
Okay, we've had enough texts telling me that I do not know my marijuana laws.
And I don't either. I don't know marijuana. So sorry. I know that recreational marijuana is not legal. And I know that Representative Grant Miller is working on a bill today that will be heard this afternoon.
Right.
Or not.
Right. And I know a joint is something that you put marijuana in a piece of paper and smoke it, and it looks like a little tiny cigarette. But it's not.
Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the bills on the Hill. So there are 801 bills as of this morning. And in fact, when I looked just a few minutes ago, 6 more have been released. And so we're up to 807 bills for this legislative session. More coming all the time, right? But I wanted to do just a follow-up on some of the bills that we have been watching. One of the bills that I thought was really interesting, and other KSL shows talked about it. It's the one that requires or does not require you to signal upon exiting a roundabout. Got a lot of people saying, "Wait, what? That's a thing?"
Yeah, a lot of people are saying, Did we have to before?
Yes, and the reason it came about is because the sponsor had a friend who got a ticket for it. So the sponsor is Representative Ariel DeFay. That bill passed unanimously out of committee and almost unanimously off the House floor. What was interesting to me is that there were 7 Republicans who voted against it. I thought that was interesting.
So I would just say this. When I'm approaching a roundabout and there's a car that's already approaching it, it's ahead of me, it would be helpful for them to turn on their signal so I know that they're going to bail out before they get to me so I can enter it.
I know.
So to me, the signaling is helpful. Now,
That's why it's a law.
Right. I don't know that it should be required under the law, but it's certainly helpful. It certainly helps me when I'm entering a roundabout if I know that the person's not going to
I think so too. And we had a lot of conversation yesterday about should 14-year-olds drive. And I even put it on my social media channels, and the response is 100% absolutely not.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
No, we didn't have much dispute about a couple people.
Yeah,
were
like
rural people, and hey, the kids need to help, and they can.
But we're not talking about rural farm.
We're talking about the
downtown
whole state.
Salt Lake.
Right, yeah.
So the roundabout bill is over on the Senate side. It passed the House side. That's interesting to me. I think on the Hill too. Right now, we've gotten to the point where we're starting to have 2 periods of floor time. And what that means is the whole body as a House and the whole body as a Senate, they get together and they're starting to discuss bills that have now passed through committees and made it out of committee. And so they have to pass the House floor, for example, if it's a House bill, and then they'll go over to the Senate side for discussion. So we're seeing, we still have committee meetings once a day. In the afternoon, but they're not starting until 3:40 in the afternoon because now we have 2 periods of floor time where they're talking about and voting on these bills that need to get over to the other side.
And we're not even halfway through the session, and we're up to we just went over 800 bills.
Yeah, we're not halfway there yet, but we are at day 17, so we're more than a third, and things again really start to pick up. I think it's next week that we stop having these appropriation subcommittee hearings, and then we'll start having committee meetings in the morning and the afternoon. Anyway, so that's an interesting thing. But so that was one bill that we were following.
Yeah, I'm looking at another bill, and it's House Bill 123, which has amendments to our current child sex offender registry requirements. And what it purports to do is say that if you come from another state and you're on that state's sex offender registry, you need to register in Utah.
Yeah.
That's already the law. I mean, what we do in Utah, as I understand it, and again, I've only practiced law for 43 years, but if you're on a sex offender registry, I know that if you're on the sex offender registry in Utah and you move to another state, that state will look at the crime in Utah and say, does that qualify for the sex offender registry under our laws? And I think that the reciprocal is already true. So maybe there's been some confusion, and it would be interesting to talk to Representative Acton to see what problem she's trying to fix. But my understanding with respect to the sex offender registry is that states have what they call full faith and credit in what happened in another state. And if you come here from Texas and you're on the Texas registry, you can't just move to Utah to get off of it.
Well, that didn't always used to be the law, right? And I know that was it created some really big problems because people were trying to basically escape their past, right? And then go on to abuse in a different location. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking specifically at the law, and they're saying they're just changing a little bit of language, but basically saying if you're on an external jurisdiction, sex, kidnap, and child abuse registry, or something the equivalent. And so, I mean, I don't know. That's a good question, but that's up this afternoon.
One thing that's been confusing, and maybe this law will fix it, is some states will say, we don't care if you're on the sex offender registry in Utah or not. Based on the crime you committed in Utah, would that put you on our sex offender registry? And if so, we'll put you back on. So some crimes in Utah may not be a registrable sex offense in another state. And I think some people are trying to, they can move to another state, perhaps, and avoid that. But what maybe this does is, look, if you're on the registry, you're on the registry.
Yeah. So that's an interesting one. There was one that came out yesterday. Look, I'm dying to know the backstory on this bill. I don't know if we could get the sponsor to talk to us about this bill, but this bill, so it talks about legislator autonomy amendments. And basically, it's a very short. It says every sitting legislator is free to introduce or refrain from introducing any legislation that they feel like is important to be introduced, and they can vote for or against or refrain from voting on any piece of legislation. So the reason I'm so curious about this is because that is literally the job definition of a legislator.
Of course. I mean, they have autonomy right now.
So it just is interesting to me, the backstory. It makes me start to wonder if maybe this legislator felt some heat about not running a specific bill.
Or
I don't know.
Legislator received something from a constituent saying, I'd like you to run this bill, and they said no, and maybe they feel like the constituents say, well, I think I can force you to run it, but you can't. The legislators do have autonomy already. It would be interesting to find out what's happening there. But bills like that are, I won't say knee-jerk, but they're in reaction to something that's going on.
Yeah,
and
typically.
The legislators go, hey, wait a minute, we need to clear this up so we don't have this problem down the road.
A little later in our show, we're going to talk to Senator Luz Escamilla. She's the minority leader in the Senate, but she's running a bill that'll be heard today about child care. And one of the things that's interesting about the bill that'll be up today is the House sponsor, the floor sponsor in the House, is a conservative Republican, and Senator Escamilla is a Democrat. And so that tells me just right off the bat, this already has bipartisan support. And there's a series, if you remember, we've talked about as the legislature meets, one of their top priorities is child care. And there are multiple proposals on the table for how to help this problem of lack of childcare in the state of Utah. But we'll talk with Senator Escamilla about one of those.
It goes to all kinds of issues that we've talked about before, including affordability, including the ability for people to afford a house because they can't afford childcare. So expanding the number of childcare providers makes sense. But then you have a public safety issue as well,
she'll talk to us about that.
Yeah.
You know, earlier we talked with Senator Heidi Baldry too about a money available for small businesses who help provide daycare stipends or even on-site daycare for their employees. So there's a variety of bills on the Hill, and we're going to talk about some of that. So when we come back, I think this is more than a little terrifying, and that is fentanyl disguised as candy. Good grief. We're going to talk about this new discovery in Utah and what your family needs to be aware of about fentanyl in our state.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
If you've ever experienced running out of hot water before your shower was done, or hard water spots on dishes and fixtures, I've got a deal you might be interested in. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and you probably already know that a tankless water heater and a water softener solve both issues. If you've ever thought about looking into getting a tankless water heater, here's the deal I was talking about. Through the end of February, we're including a free water softener with every new tankless water heater we install. The best part of this deal might be that you never have to worry about being the last one to the shower again, or that you don't have to waste the money keeping 40 to 50 gallons of water hot 24/7. To take advantage of this deal, call Any Hour Services before the end of February. The visit's free and there's no obligation to buy. If you decide to have us install a new tankless water heater, we'll throw in the water softener for free. That's right, a free water softener when you purchase a tankless water heater. Pick up the phone and call Any Hour Services right now for all the details. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Every 2 minutes, an American is sexually assaulted. Be the someone who gives their time. Be the someone who lends an ear. Be the someone who takes a step. This is Christina Ricci with RAIN, asking you to join the fight against sexual violence and volunteer in your community. Log on to RAIN.org, that's RAINN.org, to learn how you can be the someone.
This message brought to you by the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network and this station.
Progressive knows there are some surprisingly expensive things in life, like rugs. People say a rug would really bring the room together. And sure, you don't know what that means, but it sounds important. Suddenly you're using words like jute and sisal. Then you see the price and lose it, because how can the thing you walk and spill on cost so much? So you devote your life to taking down Big Rug. But then you remember that switching your home and auto to Progressive could save you hundreds. So, looks like Big Rug is safe. For now. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
This year's tax changes. Better not get caught snoozing. Miss one deduction, lose thousands. Not amusing.
Big tax changes can mean bigger refunds at Jackson Hewitt, and right now get $100 just to try us.
Don't worry, tax filers. If money is tight, get $100 from Jackson Hewitt, so you'll sleep better at night.
Limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for kids, teens, or young adults. It's just not.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals and volatile organic compounds into your body.
And nicotine, the same highly addictive substance found in regular cigarettes.
Nicotine can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s,
affecting learning, memory, attention, and impulse control, and priming the brain for other addictions.
Vaping products also come in kid-friendly flavors that can make them appealing to youth.
And many kids also use other drugs, like marijuana, in vaping devices.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media,
many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping, because when you talk, they hear you.
For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
And expanded Inside Sources.
Well, there's a new type of fentanyl that's being found in Utah, and it's colored so that it may look like candy. Here's KSL News Radio's Isabella Sosa with the story.
The new form of fentanyl, nicknamed kryptonite, was found in December when the FBI's Wasatch Metro Drug Task Force seized a kilo of the substance. Special agent in charge of the Salt Lake City FBI, Robert Bowles, says little is known about the variant right now.
We do know that it is a little bit more potent than the normal fentanyl that we're seeing. And the scary part about it is it's got this light green color that can be made to look like candy.
Bull says that younger and younger people in Utah are using fentanyl, so he urges parents to be proactive and talk to their kids about it. Isabella Sosa, KSL News Radio.
I think the last thing we need right now is another variant of fentanyl. It's one of the most insidious drugs we have right now in our country.
And it's the only thing I really know about it is how dangerous it is.
Yes.
We have Bill Newell, coordinator for the Utah Fentanyl Task Force, on the line with us. Hi, Bill. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Ollie. Hi, Greg.
Good morning.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
Just right off the bat, my question for you as a parent and a grandparent is, what do families need to know about fentanyl in our state?
Well, I think FBI Special Agent Charge Bowles said it well, and what you're advocating for is awareness. A couple of years ago, if you remember, one of the fentanyl variants that came out was known as Skittles because they were colored. It was they weren't any different than the illicit M30 fentanyl pills, but the Mexican drug cartels, like any sort of business, wants to make their product more attractive. So if you remember, it came out right about Halloween a couple of years ago. So they look like Skittles, and if you're a parent of a 3, 4, 5-year-old child, and unfortunately you might be dealing with substance abuse, and you bring some of these M30 pills home, what would your child do? And so it's really awareness of the dangers of fentanyl and all the variants. It's just, and through the media, through things like you're doing, and through all the different websites that we advocate for, the Fentanyl Task Force is making parents aware of the dangers, and the youth, really our youth. Some of these M30 pills look like legitimate produced pills, but they're not. They could be laced with a fatal dosage of fentanyl.
Bill, can you tell our listeners why fentanyl? So you're with the Utah Fentanyl Task Force as opposed to what I would say the Utah Opioid Task Force. Why is fentanyl? How has it become such a huge problem, not just in Utah but nationally, and sort of overtaken all other seemingly forms of pain
drugs,
medication as the problem right now?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. We actually work very closely with other task forces in the state, the Attorney General's Opioid Task Force as well, and the feds. They're great partners, the FBI and DEA, and that's what we do with the Fentanyl Task Force, is bring all those voices to one table, because we're currently what's considered like the fourth phase of the opioid overdose epidemic in the United States. It started with prescription drugs, and then it went to heroin when doctors in America as a whole started realizing, hey, these are a problem with addiction. And then it went to heroin, then fentanyl. What I tell a lot of people, why fentanyl? Why do the Mexican drug cartels turn to things like fentanyl? Because it's synthetic. The other drugs, heroin is, you need Mother Nature. Cocaine, you need Mother Nature. Marijuana and other things that require, sunlight and water and what have you. Synthetics can be pretty much manufactured anywhere with precursors and some knowledge of chemistry. So, and you can do that around the clock all year long. So, the issue is 2 milligrams of fentanyl, which is basically what, if you've seen the images on the internet, it's basically a little dot on the tip of a pencil, is lethal to a healthy, person who has no resistance or no tolerance of opioids. And I mean, that's as little as it takes to kill somebody.
Wow.
And sadly, basically it's like if sugar packets on the table that you see. Basically, you take a sugar packet out and just look at I'll just put a couple of little spots on the table in front of you. That's 2 milligrams.
Wow, that is terrifying. Is the problem growing in Utah?
Well, actually, one of the things that is happening, one of the positive trends I'd like to report, and this is in partnership with the Office of Medical Examiner and all the partners throughout the state, public health, public safety, and all our community-based organizations, is we're actually seeing a downward trend in opioid-involved fatal deaths, which is great news. We obviously want to not talk about deaths. We want to talk about saving lives, of course, but we're down about 9.4% year over year. And I think that's continuing to trend downward of opioid-involved fatal drug deaths. And I think a lot of that's, it's all about awareness and the partnerships that we enjoy here in the state of Utah.
Bill, being a synthetic, we still think of fentanyl as being something that's imported a lot. And I guess I think back on the old meth labs. People would build it and make it in anywhere they wanted. But fentanyl may not be that easy, and I'm not asking for a description on how it's made, but why is it still imported if it can be made chemically, if that makes any sense?
Well, no, it does, and you're not wrong. You're not wrong about how the meth labs. You can go on in Mexico, and again, I'm going to point to Mexico and the drug cartels. They are still producing a huge amount of meth in these illicit labs in the mountains of northern Mexico, and the Sinaloa cartel really, and the CJNG, which is the Jalisco cartel. They're the ones that produce the vast majority, mainly Sinaloa drug cartel in Mexico, the ones that produce the vast amount of the illicit fentanyl pills and the powder that are being illegally, and I don't say imported, they're being trafficked into the United States and around the world. And most of the precursors for that come from places like China, and especially China. And so there's been a lot of work on the part of the U.S. government and others, and to put really some pressure on those entities to do more about it. But that's where the illicit fentanyl in large quantities, and meth. You brought up meth, and most of our meth that comes, well, not most, I'd say significant percentage of the meth that comes into Utah is from Mexico by the drug cartels.
Yeah, can you talk to our listeners about a phenomenon that I've seen, which is that some dealers in fentanyl are able to package it and press it and color it and mix other ingredients in it so it looks like you're buying an oxycodone or something, but I think they call them blues or something like that. But can you talk to our listeners about that? Some people might think they're buying an oxy when in fact they're really purchasing something much more dangerous, which is fentanyl.
And that's the hard reality is that's when this really started, when it really hit Utah, I'd say 2016, 2017, these M30 pills, they're called M30 because that's what a legitimate oxy looks like. It's this light blue pill that's, produced by pharmaceutical grade companies for use for pain, pain medication. The problem is the Mexican cartels know that, and so they started producing pills that look very similar. I mean, and as the years went on, they got better and better at producing pills that, you could put two side by side. And DEA is a great partner. They have a program initiative called Fentanyl Free America, and that you can go to their website, DEA.gov, and you'll see these pictures side by side of an illicit fentanyl M30 pill and an illicit one and a legitimate one, and you can't tell the difference. And one will kill you instantly almost, depending on your tolerance. And one, obviously if it's prescribed by a doctor, legitimately for pain medication. So that's the danger. And in the hands of a child, and again, I'm a parent too, and I'm soon to be a grandparent, thankfully. I would hate for say, oh, here's my grandma's, pill, if you're really in pain for whatever reason, innocently. And it could be, in fact, a fentanyl-laced M30 pill. And that's the tragedy, right?
Bill, I have a question for you, and we're almost out of time. But we have a texter, and I have the same kind of question. What would it look like if somebody were on fentanyl, if we came across somebody and it looked like maybe they had taken something? What can we do, and what does it look like?
Well, that's a great question, because that's where things like Utah naloxone are great to try to save a life. We're trying to save lives. So basically, one of the problems is breathing. Their breathing will get very shallow. They'll obviously look like they're falling asleep or are falling asleep. They're having if you see someone like that is starting to have a hard time breathing, there's actually a way to put them in a sidewards position so they can get breathing again, and then administer naloxone. And luckily here in Utah, we have Utah Naloxone has a lot of resources, and we want to save a life first and then get that person into treatment if we can.
Absolutely. Well, that was very helpful information. Bill Newell, coordinator of the Utah Fentanyl Task Force. Thanks for joining us this morning. When we come back, I think a lot of us think a bachelor's degree takes 4 years of full-time college, but one school in Utah is moving all of their bachelor's degrees to just 3 years. We'll talk about that when we come back. Stay with us.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour, a new agreement is tied to Utah's Operation Gigawatt plan, and the governor says it'll help keep energy affordable. Rocky Mountain Power says the goal is protecting regular customers from higher costs as huge new power users like data centers move into Utah. Company spokesman David Eskelson says under a new state law, those large customers are supposed to cover the cost of expensive upgrades like substations or transmission connections instead of shifting those costs onto ratepayers.
We've done a number of changes to the law over the years to enable particularly large customers and specialized customers to fulfill their energy goals.
The agreement is expected to be filed with the Utah Public Service Commission by February 10th. A lawmaker is looking to rename part of State Street in Provo as a memorial for a fallen officer. It would be to honor Officer Joseph Shinners. He was killed in the line of duty back in 2019. The bill comes as the courts resolve the case of his convicted killer. Our top national story this hour, President Trump defended National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard's participation in last week's FBI seizure of 2020 election materials in Fulton County, Georgia, while speaking at the annual National Prayer Breakfast in Washington this morning. He responded to people asking why Gabbard was in charge when she has other international duties.
The same people that said that, they've been saying Russia has been screwing our elections, okay? So let's assume Russia had something to do with it. They say, no, Russia didn't have. So now they're saying Russia had nothing to do with it. Because if I say Russia, that it's perfectly fine. But you could add China and about 5 other countries.
He says Attorney General Pam Bondi insisted Gabbard be present at the FBI raid. Your money at this moment, the markets are down this morning. The Dow is off 369 now. That's actually made up some ground. That's 0.75%. We're at 49,132. Coming up, we've got sunshine in the forecast today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time 10:02. A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
When Team USA is on, you can almost see the moment a kid starts believing they could be next. Now, while Xfinity can't guarantee that, they can guarantee something just as important, that your internet price won't change for 5 years. No contracts or commitments. So while your kid is ordering gear online, streaming highlight reels, or video chatting, your Xfinity internet price won't budge. And who knows, by the time the next Olympic Winter Games roll around, your kid could be getting fitted for their very own Team USA uniform. And guess what? You'll still be paying the same price for reliable Wi-Fi. And there's even more to enjoy with the Xfinity Gold Medal Celebration. Now through February 22nd, get their best price on gig Wi-Fi for 5 years guaranteed. Just $50 a month, plus get Peacock Premium included for 2 years. That's a $10.99 monthly value. Xfinity. Imagine that. Proud partner of Team USA. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Taxes and fees extra. Actual speeds vary.
This is the story of the one. As an HVAC technician, he and his digital multimeter are in high demand. So when a noisy office HVAC turns out to be a failing blower motor, he doesn't break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product information, he selects the product he needs to keep everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Big tax changes this year could mean a bigger refund, and Jackson Hewitt knows how to get you your biggest. You'll get $100 just to try us. That won't make you filthy rich, but definitely gas plus groceries rich. And since we know all the new tax codes, you could get thousands back, which would make you low-key loaded. Or at least wealthy adjacent? Go with our trusted pros and get $100 to switch. Rest easy. Jackson Hewitt's got your taxes. Guaranteed. Limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
Tonight on KSL.
On the face of it, it's a harmless prank.
Doorbell ditching, a game that generations of children played, has taken a frightening turn.
All you could see was a hoodie and a mask.
The KSL investigators set out to understand why a once silly prank,
it looked like a handgun. He just firing it at us,
seems to be more dangerous today.
You don't know whose door you're going to go knock on or pound on.
Ding Dong Danger, tonight at 10.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Supercharge your savings at uccu.com. And back to you, Jason.
And Amanda, the only trouble spot, of course, continues to be westbound on the South Belt approaching the South Interchange as they still try to clear up that accident. It's been there for about 4 hours now, I think, and it's probably going to be there for a little bit longer as well. Right lanes are blocked. Of course, traffic is slow through that area, but no heavy delays as the volume has decreased over time. I-15 is looking good all along the Wasatch Front, both north and southbound from Ogden all the way down to Payson. You're not going to really find any accidents or delays, and really no accidents or delays on any of the other major feeders over to I-15 or any of the other major highways as well. Step aboard history, walk through recreations, and see real artifacts, and feel the legacy of Titanic the Exhibition. Open now at the Shops at Southtown in Sandy. Tickets at thetitanicexhibition.com. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
Sunny today with highs in the 50s. That weather will stick around over the weekend. Monday, we could begin to see the start of the storm, some rain on Tuesday. Right now, it's 39 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
I don't know about you, Holly, but it took me every bit of 4 years to get my bachelor's degree. I got a degree in engineering from the University of Utah, and I don't think there would be any way I could have done that in 3 years.
Well, it took me 5. and
go.
This was, so it actually, because it took me 3 years to get an associate degree, I got an associate degree in nursing, but I had to do a full year of prerequisites and then 2 full years of nursing.
Right.
And then when I went back to school a long time later, it took me 2 years to finish up and get a bachelor's degree. So what's interesting to me is we're starting to see a shift into programs where they're streamlined, I guess, and they're moving to saying, look, you can get a bachelor's in 3 years.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, one Utah school, Ensign College, has announced that it is redesigning all of their Bachelor of Applied Science degrees, allowing students to graduate with a bachelor's degree in 3 years rather than 4 years. And that's for all of their Bachelor of Applied Science degrees, which surprised me a little bit.
So we have on the line with us Jason Swenson, and he writes for the Deseret News, covers education, among other things. But Jason, thanks for joining us this morning.
You're welcome, Greg and Holly. Good to be with you guys.
I'm wondering if you can just talk to us generally about the degree programs in, what is it, science?
Bachelor of
These
Applied
are all at Ensign College. They offer 3 different BS or Bachelor of Applied Science degrees, and now, as Greg mentioned a minute ago, each one of those 3 degrees is now being offered as a 3-year degree format to allow students to be able to wrap up that bachelor's degree in a shorter period of time. That you're right that it was required of most of us just a few years ago.
So my very first question, just right off the top, does that mean that they don't take any electives?
That's exactly right. You still have your core classes that are specific to your major, to your degree, and then there are still the general education requirements that would be required for any Ensign College student that's pursuing a bachelor's degree, and I believe that includes a math and some social studies and different humanities courses and things. But it does eliminate those elections that have really been sort of a defining element, right, of the traditional 4-year bachelor's degree is that you take those electives that for some are a bit of a hassle and for others are enjoyable and offer new opportunities to learn something and develop a different skill and help round out that education.
I wonder if, Jason, if there's going to be a risk that an individual who graduates with a 3-year Bachelor of Applied Science from Ensign College may be looked at differently than a 4-year degree in the same field at the Utah State or University of Utah, and whether or not there will be some, I don't know, how these different degrees might be recognized. Do we know?
Well, that's really something that time will only tell, right, over the coming years as we study the emergence of a lot of these bachelor degree in 3 programs and just what has been the results of students taking those degrees into the workforce. I know when I had an interview to speak with Ensign College President Bruce Cush just yesterday when I was pulling this story together, that's obvious. That's one of the obvious questions, of course, that's asked. Is the respect or the regard for this sort of degree diminished in any way if, say, an employer recognizes that it was earned in a 3-year, a 90-hour, or 98-credit-hour program as opposed to the traditional 120 credit hours? And he was well prepared to respond to that concern and mentioned that in designing these degree in 3 programs that the school and the curriculum experts there at Ensign College worked hand in hand with local industry and with businesses in identifying the sort of skills, both the hard skills as well as those soft skills that are discussed quite often in the workplace, that the degree in 3 programs would each provide their students with the skills needed in all of those areas. And so his response to that question you asked, Greg, is that in fact they worked hand in hand with industry to identify those skills that were most valued and that would then make that graduate immediately employable and something that and an attractive candidate.
I think, Jason, what's interesting to me is it's not trying to squish 120 credits into a 3-year program, but it's actually dropping the number of credits, right?
That's right. Yeah, and as you mentioned earlier, that's primarily done by the elimination of the electives, which again have been sort of the standard, right, for the bachelor's degree, which has traditionally been a 4-year program. And a lot of people look at those electives as essential for a well-rounded education, whether that enables students to develop personal interests or skills, or just sort of take that academic journey beyond just those core requirements.
Just as a follow-up to that 90 credit, does that mean we're looking at maybe 6 semesters? So students don't have to go through the summer. It really is fall and winter. They can have the summers off like a lot of college students take off. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, that would be the ideal then with in the semester program, that you'd be able to complete that with two semesters during the calendar year. Mm-hmm. And I would mention that it's becoming that this is not unique to Ensign College, as I mentioned in my story. You have a couple of other public schools, both Weber State University as well as Utah Valley University, who also presented in a much more limited fashion accelerated bachelor degree programs at those institutions also last year.
Jason, can you tell our listeners anything more about the specifics of these particular degrees that would qualify for this?
At the Ensign College, they have those 3 degrees, one in business management, another in communication, and the third in information technology. Of course, it's a smaller school and that also has a multi-mission, so they award a lot of associate's degrees as well as different certificates. So there's not a vast number of bachelor's degrees available at Ensign College, just the 3 that I mentioned, although they do offer a variety of study areas in those degrees, like accounting and cybersecurity and different things. So relatively speaking, it's still a fairly small number, Greg.
I really like the ability, I think, that we're seeing more and more from higher ed just across the spectrum to say, look, how can we make things that are really relevant for our students and what our students needs? And Jason, I might put you on the spot with this question, but how does Ensign College maybe and their approach tie in with Pathways?
Oh, there's certainly I think that they're certainly, very, very close linked cousins, because a large number of Ensign colleges, I believe the majority of their enrolled students are actually online students. And of course, Pathway, another program sponsored by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to provide higher education opportunities for students worldwide. And you've seen a lot of these sort of programs happening in tandem. And so, yeah, I think that you're certainly seeing a link there, if that answers your question.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That was Jason Swenson. He reports for the Deseret News. And 3-year degree programs, I think it's a really great answer for some students.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Okay, so this next story, actually, this makes my heart hurt. Losing $850,000 in a romance cryptocurrency scam. Oh, yikes. We're going to talk about how this scam unfolded and what lawmakers on Utah's Capitol Hill may be doing to prevent these types of situations. Stay with us.
1-877 Cards for Kids. KARS Cards for Kids. 1-877 Cards for Kids. Donate your card today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 1-877-CARS-FOR-KIDS to reach a friendly live agent. Donation's super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Call us now, 1-877-CARS-FOR-KIDS. That's Cars with a K to donate your car today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Did you know you can donate real estate too? Go to carsforkids.org. That's carsforkids.org.
With the new IHOP value menu, $6 is all it takes to go to your happy plates, where stacks of pancakes with bacon and eggs are just $6 every day. French toast, sausage, and eggs are, you guessed it, $6. And fluffy omelets come with a side of pancakes and only cost $6. Go to your happy plates every day at IHOP. $7 in some locations. Available every day for a limited time at participating restaurants in the U.S. Hours may vary. No substitutions. Not valid with other discounts or promotions. Prices may vary.
This is the story of the one. As an HVAC technician, he and his digital multimeter are in high demand. So when a noisy office HVAC turns out to be a failing blower motor, he doesn't break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product information, he selects the product he needs to keep everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Women go through many changes in their lives. And we believe each milestone matters. That every new candle represents another step in your story. Our healthcare experts support women at every stage of life. Because each chapter deserves to be celebrated. Women's health. Nurture what's next. Find care near you at mountain.commonspirit.org. Common Spirit Health. Human kindness lives here.
Hi, I'm Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, America's largest family law firm. During this time of year, difficult relationships sometimes become impossible. If you or someone you care about is facing a family law issue, let us set up a 1-hour Cordell Consult. The Cordell Consult is a meeting with a local attorney who will give you clear guidance about your options, whether it's a separation, a postnuptial agreement, divorce, or custody. Take the first step. Visit CordellCordell.com. That's CordellCordell.com.
Right now, UCCU is offering short-term savings options with incredibly high yields. Simply make a deposit, then watch your savings grow with a fixed rate of return that's much higher than a savings account. UCCU also has great offers on jump-up options. So if rates continue to rise, you can jump up your rate and earn even more. Visit uccu.com to learn more and supercharge your savings today. UCCU. Love where you bank.
I'm Walker Kessler, and I play basketball for a living. So I know how important it is to have the support of a team you can trust. That's why I love UCCU. UCCU is more than a credit union. They're a true financial partner. A local team of experts your entire family can trust at every step of your financial journey. Just visit uccu.com and elevate your banking experience.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. I'm here to warn you about telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Some of these scammers may say threatening things like you will be arrested if you don't make payments or provide personal information. Do not fall for these tricks. These calls are not from us. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you for information or money. If you receive a call like this, hang up. Never give the caller your personal information like your Social Security number or bank account, or send money in any form, cash, gift cards, wire transfers, or prepaid debit cards. Report the call to our law enforcement arm, the Office of the Inspector General, at oig.ssa.gov. Share this information with your friends and family.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
Well, I think we've talked with Matt Gephardt about this and other similar things, but romance scams are rising, and Utah wants to address that, especially as it involves cryptocurrency. And we've been reporting this morning about one woman who was scammed out of over $500,000 in crypto fraud.
Almost $1 million, $850,000.
Yeah, let's learn more from Daniel Woodruff.
One woman here in Utah who learned the hard way about crypto fraud, and now she hopes her experience will help warn others.
It's devastating.
Enola Johnson never believed she would be scammed until she was.
It's hard to explain to somebody who hasn't been through it, but what I call it is brain jacking.
In 2023, she says a stranger reached out on LinkedIn, which sparked a friendship over text message, then a romance, all lasting 9 months.
And it just floods you with feel-good feelings, and you don't want it to stop because they're paying attention to you. And hey, nobody's paid attention to me in, 20 years.
That person asked her to open a joint cryptocurrency account. She did, sending money through a gas station crypto ATM and in other ways. Turned out it was all a scam, and she lost $850,000.
It was money that I had, but more so money that I borrowed. So I'm in debt up to here. With no recourse. I mean, there's no cavalry coming to save me.
And there isn't. I mean, there's probably...
Right, it's gone.
Once it's in the crypto universe, it's gone. And she probably doesn't even know this person, or if he even exists in some...
I didn't even know we had crypto ATMs. Yeah. But we do have with us Bridger Biel-Svetko, who worked with Daniel Woodruff on this story. And Bridger, how big of an issue is this in Utah?
Hey, Holly, thanks for having me. In Utah, we couldn't find specific numbers on crypto scams in Utah, but statewide or nationwide, we know it's a big issue. Romance scams, which is what you heard described with Enola Johnson, cost Americans over $1 billion in 2023, according to the Federal Trade Commission. And that's just one type of scam that relies heavily on cryptocurrency. So there's a lot of money that's lost every year to these types of scams.
Can you tell our listeners, Bridger, how a person, perhaps this individual, even gets into this to where they're sending money at that level?
Yeah, it's a staggering amount of money. Enola, who we spoke with yesterday, initially started with a LinkedIn message request on the social media platform. She responded. They started chatting, developed a friendship that eventually turned into an online romance. She said the person, she described it as grooming. He built up trust with her, led her to believe that her investments, as what she thought she was investing in cryptocurrency, that he was also contributing to this pot of money that they could, use to help their futures going forward. But he was scamming her. So it happened over time. He built up trust, asked for a little bit of money, and while she saw some red flags along the way, she didn't realize until she had lost a lot of money exactly what was going on.
Wow. Is there, we mentioned actually that there might be some movement on Utah's Capitol Hill to try and at least prevent maybe this level of scam. What are lawmakers doing?
Yeah, there are currently two proposals, one in the House and one in the Senate, that are being worked on. I talked with Senator Brady Brammer last evening. He's working on the Senate version. He said he and Representative Ryan Wilcox realized they're both kind of tackling the same issue. So they're planning to combine their bills into one policy going forward. So we don't know the specific details of what will come out of that. But right now, what they're proposing to do is kind of set a cool down period right after you create an account to send money through crypto ATMs. There would be some limits on the amount of money that you could send per day, and those would kind of gradually raise over time. So if it's something that you use regularly for business, you could still use that as a way to transfer money. But they hope that these people who are in a really emotional situation sometimes they feel threatened. You have to send this money right now or else. So they hope that putting some caps early on will help prevent people from losing too much money before they kind of realize what's going on.
Bridger, with respect to this particular victim, do we know at what point how she finally decided this needed to stop, or that the bleeding stopped and we didn't get over $1 million in losses?
Yeah, it wasn't a particular moment. Like I said, there were a couple of red flags that she noticed. And ultimately, it took a long time before she realized that things weren't right. She didn't say exactly what that moment was, but lost, like you said, almost $1 million before she realized what was going on. And that cryptocurrency, it's not traceable the way a bank transfer would be, and so there's really no way for her to get that back.
Wow, thank you for that. That was Bridger Biel-Svetko, and that story. My husband saw a story last night that Bitcoin dropped in price because Bessent said the U.S. government can't tell banks to bail out crypto. So I had to have a little lesson on banking and crypto, and they're very different. So there are some federal guarantees behind banks. We know that, right?
Sure.
FDIC insured,
yep.
We see that. But crypto's not that way. And so I think it's like a little bit of the wild, wild west out there.
Yeah, and I think that if you are being asked to put money into a crypto account, you should be suspect right at the outset. And I'm not saying crypto's bad. It is what it is. But if the money's not traceable, then you have to recognize that once you transfer it, you'll probably never see it again.
Yeah,
or at
right.
least you don't know where it's going to go. I mean, there was a time when they were doing Amazon gift cards or various things, and they would have people, you've got to go to a store and you got to get this gift card, you got to send it to me. Things that are not traceable.
Right.
I mean, if you have a bank account with a number and you have your bank, I mean, it could still be lost, but you at least there's a way to find out where it went.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think it's interesting, right, that Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent specifically was asked in a House Financial Services Committee if the U.S. Treasury had the authority to buy Bitcoin, and he said no. And it just like people got really upset over that answer, but it does not have, what do we say, the full faith and credit of the United States government behind it.
Right, but we all know people that have made a boatload on crypto. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I knew a person that earned about $4 million on crypto.
Oh my
and it's just,
gosh.
But, and you have to know when to buy and you have to know when to sell, because one day it could be worth nothing. And I don't fully understand how it works, even though I've had some training in it. I still look at it and go, it's not something I'm interested in. But they do have crypto, what do they call them? ATMs. I mean, there are ways that you can do that.
Now there are, right? And again, that's something I didn't really know that we had as crypto ATMs, because that's how this particular victim started sharing that money. Is she would take out money and then it would go through the crypto ATM into somebody's account, the scammer's account.
And $850,000. I mean,
it was,
and she had to borrow part of it. So it's not like it's just her life savings. It's like
she said it was her life savings. It was her retirement savings. She maxed out her credit cards and she refinanced her house.
Yeah, so she now owes money.
Yeah.
And as a result of that. Oh boy.
Look, I think it's important to check in not only with ourselves but with our parents. We've talked with Matt Gebhardt before about how targeted these scams can be and how scammers are going after elderly people. I will say grandparents, right? And my dad has been scammed, and there is this affinity, right? They create a relationship of trust first before they start to ask you for just a little bit, right? And then just a little bit more.
A little bit more.
Yeah.
A little bit more. And these romance scams
easy.
are another thing too, because they prey on people who are vulnerable, who are lonely, who are looking for a partner or something. And hey, if you can just get me $400, I can get some clothing. I can do this. I can come see you. Well, now I need $2,000. Well, now I need $10,000, and it just gets more and more. And people get hooked. They get into it, and they're like, do I take one more step knowing that maybe I'll seal the deal, or do I bail now knowing that I've lost what I've lost?
So it's really important to check in with your parents, your grandparents, your siblings, right? It's one of the conversations we need to have, and on a regular basis, because these scammers change their tactics all the time.
Yeah. You know, we've been talking a lot on this show about the dangers of artificial intelligence, but there is actually one good use, and it's helping with family history. We're going to talk with an expert from Family Search about how AI can help you in your search. Stay with us.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story: 3 San Juan County residents have contracted measles. The county health department says they were exposed while traveling and have not returned to the county since. It is San Juan's first confirmed cases so far in Utah. 251 people have been diagnosed with measles, a majority of those in southern Utah. Our top national story now from ABC News. Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates is answering questions about his friendship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Details from ABC News Chief International Correspondent James Longman.
The billionaire speaking with 9 News Australia about his relationship with Epstein, saying they met in 2011.
I never went to the island. I never met any women. And so, the more that comes out, the more clear it'll be that although the time was a mistake, it had nothing to do with that kind of behavior.
Gates insisted his relationship with Epstein was focused on raising money for philanthropy and global health. His interview coming one day after the billionaire's ex-wife Melinda French Gates spoke out in an interview of her own.
I am so happy to be away from all the muck.
Other rich and powerful individuals are also being questioned about their friendship, including former Prince Andrew and Elon Musk. Your money at this moment, let's see where the markets are right now. The Dow is down 281. That's actually a little bit better than we were a half hour ago. That's about 0.5%. Right now we're at 49,219. Coming up, we've got sunshine and 50s today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Andy, I like that shirt. Is that a new shirt?
It is. It's from Ann Collar, and it's really rare to find a shirt that looks good and is super comfortable. And this is a fabric unlike anything I've ever felt.
I got one for my husband and my sons, and watching my 19-year-old put on the Ann Collar shirt and sort of check himself out in the mirror, I thought, wow, he's really digging that. And I can understand why, because it's not just comfortable, it's stain repellent, which I needed.
Oh, my goodness.
Because,
something.
He attracts spaghetti sauce to shirts like you would not believe. And with these Ann Collar shirts, I can get it out.
Amanda, I have to wear a special bib when I eat spaghetti with a white shirt on. But with Ann Collar shirts, it takes those little tiny nicks and stains, and they don't stick to you. Yeah, you don't have to dump a bucket of stuff on you, but it would repel that, too.
You've got to try one. So whether it's the traditional white shirt or any of the patterns they have, it's Ann Collar, and they're made right here in Utah.
If you've never tried Ann Collar before, we have got permission to give you 15% off at andcollar.com and go get your first. Use the code KSL15.
That's Ann Collar, andcollar.com.
You know, it's frustrating. It really is. You work your tail off for 40 plus years. The government takes 30 or 40% in taxes. Then they turn around and they waste your money. Americans are getting fed up, rightfully so. And that's why they're taking advantage of tax planning. Tax planning could significantly reduce your taxes, not just for 1 year, but for the rest of your life. Learn how much you could save in taxes when you retire with a free retirement tax savings analysis from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $300,000, schedule your free analysis now by calling 801-896-9622. Don't pay the government one more dime than you need to. Call today, 801-896-9622. That number again, 801-896-9622.
For informational purposes only, actual results may vary. No statement contained herein shall constitute tax, legal, or investment advice.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Capted Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by UCCU. Transfer savings, earn more. UCCU, love where you bank. And here's Jason Jones.
Amanda, it looks like they are finally getting this accident cleared up if it's westbound on the South Belt. We see the debris has mostly been cleared up. Of course, the truck is still there, and the two right lanes are still closed. So it's going to maybe take a little bit longer before it's finally reopened. You're going to have to drive slowly through that area, so just remember that as you are driving along. Otherwise, though, the rest of your commute is looking pretty decent, although we do now have reports of an accident. This is going to be southbound I-15 just south of 650 North in Clearfield. We are seeing the backups happen on the camera now. Don't have eyes on the accident itself, but we do see the backups in place there. It says right 2 lanes are blocked, so be careful as you travel through there. While you're planning your day, plan for comfort too with the Good Feet store. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today will be sunny with highs in the 50s. That weather will stick around over the weekend. Monday, we see the start of a storm that should bring us some rain in the valley on Tuesday. Right now, it's 43 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
I'm looking forward to this segment, Holly, because this is an area that I need to learn more about. My own family history involves my grandfather coming from Greece just over 100 years ago, but we cannot find anywhere what happened before then. Anything from the country, and so the name Skordas, we're trying to find out where, if we have relatives somewhere, and I've just hit a roadblock, mostly because I'm uneducated. I'm not quite sure where to go. So maybe our next guest and you can help me with that.
Well, Family Search is a really big, basic database about. It's one shared tree where you can go on and people can put in additional information. And one of the things that's really fun, I play around with this sometimes, is I can go back to, royalty. Once you tie into royalty in England, like you can go forever.
You're good, yeah.
It feels like, right? But and that's fun to see. But we have with us John Alexander. He's the senior product manager with Family Search. And just right off the bat, John, first of all, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
I'm wondering if you can go just back to the very basics and explain to our listeners and to my co-host, what is Family Search?
Sure. So Family Search, we've been around for a really long time. We were founded in 1894 as the Genealogical Society of Utah. And, in the 90s, we changed the names to Family Search. But essentially, we've had this mission to gather and collect into a place where others can access it, the information about people who've lived all over the world, in the hope that people can discover and connect with their families across many, many generations. So that's essentially what Family Search is.
John, can you tell our listeners, in terms of technological developments and more information that's becoming available, how and if AI is allowing you to get more information?
Yeah, so I'll tell it this way, Greg. That's a great question. So many of the listeners are aware of the Family Search Indexing Program, which is what we had to do in order to make these old historic images readable by a computer. A human would have to read the image and then type in important information like names and dates and so on. So we did a study back in 2014, and with humans doing that manual data entry, we had about 150 years of work for them to do, and it was actually growing by 7 to 10 years every year. So we looked then and said, we're falling further and further behind because people just couldn't index content fast enough, as fast as we needed it. With AI and the developments of the last couple of years, actually this year in 2026, that 150-year backlog of human indexing is gone.
Wow.
Computer AI has essentially solved that problem. We've now taught it to read and transcribe virtually every written language, including dead languages. And so in terms of accelerating and data that's available today that, say, wasn't available 10 years ago, we are on a totally new horizon because of artificial intelligence in the genealogical world.
So let me ask you this question about Greg's family history. If he was stuck in finding records from Greece, how often should he check back to see if maybe there's something new?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Holly, because what you should check now is the answer. A lot of things change, and sometimes, and I actually know in Greece, part of the challenge you have right now, Greg, is that there are reasons in Greece that we just don't have access to all of the records that we would want. We'll hopefully solve that problem at some point, but even for the records that we do have, again, there's going to be more available now. And so it is worth checking in. And, that kind of leads to other questions, because AI it doesn't just help us on, processing and making this massive amounts of data available, but it could help you, Greg, as a user and as we don't need you to be a professional genealogist anymore. AI can help with that as well. You can come into our system. We're building helpers. You can just type out in natural language what you know about your family, what you're looking for, and the systems are getting better and better at going and doing that hard work and hard searching for you, so that you don't have to, because all we want to give you, Greg, is that opportunity to discover your family and learn more about, your heritage in Greece.
So John, I am a complete novice at this. So how do I come into your system, as you just mentioned?
Yeah, good. So first and foremost, creating an account, then that just helps us retain the information. We know who you are. We can start learning and trying to build out your family tree. And like Holly explained earlier, we have a large connected family tree. And especially for people here on the Wasatch Front, we have such a legacy of family history and a pioneer heritage. Many of those people did a lot of work, and we've done everything we can to save that. So for many people, all they need to do is create an account, tell us a little bit about who they were, like their parents and grandparents, and then we can connect them into the larger family tree and give them a really nice discovery experience. Many people come back or come in certain that Family Search doesn't have anything about their family. And they going through a couple of these steps, Greg. So just starting out with your account, telling us who you are, your parents and grandparents are, just things that you remember. Then we connect that into our larger system and try and give you a really great experience as you discover more and more about your family.
One last question, John, for you. So Roots Tech, can you explain to our listeners what Roots Tech is in about a minute or less?
Sure. Roots Tech is the largest genealogical conference in the world. So I would say, and AI has been an emerging theme over the last couple of years, and it continues to be. So if you're an extremely technical developer-like person, come, you can meet with other developers. You can talk about, the nerdy, geeky side of AI. If you're an advanced researcher and true genealogist, come to Roots Tech and you can speak with other researchers and really learn about some of these new power tools that are being built and coming out around researchers. If you're a beginner, come to Roots Tech. You can learn generally about what these tools and systems can do for you, and there are people who can really help you get started and help you have a great experience, Greg. So there are experts in Greek records. They'll be there at Roots Tech. You can come. It's easy for you to sign up and meet with them. If you want in-person help, Roots Tech is the place to come and get it.
All right. Thank you so much. That was John Alexander, Senior Product Manager with Family Search, and Roots Tech is the first week of March. When we come back
I'm going.
Okay, do it. I go,
or
at least online every year.
Absolutely.
When we come back, we're going to talk about child care in the state of Utah, and Senator Luz Escamilla is going to join us. So just stick with us.
Sometimes when our furnace stops working, it's something simple we can fix ourselves, if we only knew how. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and the next time your furnace stops working, before you call a company out to fix it, try this first. Go shut the furnace down and make sure your air filter is clean. Go around the house and make sure the vents are open and there's nothing blocking the return airs. If it's been a while since you've changed the batteries in your thermostat, go ahead and do that too. Then go turn the furnace back on, and if it stays on, you're probably good. If it stops working again, you're probably going to want a technician to check it out. If you don't know one, Any Hour Services has a special offer for any homeowners listening. One of our HVAC technicians will diagnose and troubleshoot your furnace for only $29. Then they'll explain what they found and present you with repair options. And don't worry, our technicians service all brands. Call Any Hour Services and let them know you heard about this $29 troubleshooting special on the radio. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 18 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 30, 60, or 90 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available at KSLNewsRadio.com/contests.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried, because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
Are you looking to upgrade your home this year? Advanced Window Products is your local window and door manufacturer that sells direct to the public.
That's right, celebrating 40 years serving Utah since 1986. And right now, it's the New Year, New Window Sale. Get $2,500 off when you buy 10 windows or more.
Our windows are made right here in Salt Lake City. Sales and installation are all in-house, meaning no middleman markups. You get the most affordable, high-quality custom windows in the state.
We build it, we install it, and we guarantee it for life.
Every window comes with a lifetime warranty, labor, glass, and parts included, serviced by our local team, and the warranty is transferable to the next homeowner.
Financing is available too. Save now, pay later, with payments as low as $150 a month.
Buy local and support the local economy. Don't wait. Buy 10 windows or more and get $2,500 off. Beat the rush and call today.
Call us at 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or visit us at advancedwindows.com.
My name is Ariel. When I arrived in the U.S. at 19, I struggled to find job opportunities without my high school diploma. My entire life changed when I took a chance and got my high school diploma at age 22. Everything I have, my education, my career, my marriage, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and my teachers. They were with me every step of the way, helping with my English and math, making sure I push through all the challenges.
Ariel, your success proves that what I'm doing as a teacher has real meaning.
It was an honor helping you achieve your greatness. Now you're helping others achieve theirs. It inspires me.
Education was the key that unlocked all my opportunities.
When you graduate, they graduate. Find free and supportive adult education centers near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
We've talked about this before, but Utah is having a real child care crunch, and we've known that for some families who are trying to go back to work to meet their financial demands, they can't do that because child care is not only hard to find, but it's extremely expensive and prices some families out of that market.
Yeah, it really does. And we know that there's 77%, that's a really high percentage of Utah families live in what they are calling child care deserts. And so on the Hill, they've been trying to say, how do we approach this, right? How do we solve this problem? And there's lots of different ways to approach this. And I think one of the ways that will be heard in committee later this afternoon is to provide grants for in-home daycares. And then it comes with like a set of requirements that the daycares would have to meet to be able to apply for the grants.
Yeah, and I'm sure our legislature is trying to deal with that as well, because so many young families are trying to find ways to get not only back to work, but find a way to deal with their new young children.
So the Senate sponsor of the bill that's going to be talked about today is Senator Luz Escamilla, and she's the minority leader in the Utah Senate. And she's on the phone with us. Thanks for joining us, Senator Escamilla.
It's always my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Also, happy birthday yesterday.
Thank you.
I wonder if you can talk to our listeners about the bill that's going to be discussed today. I know there's a variety of bills, but what's today's bill?
Yes, thank you. The home-based childcare solutions, it's just one of our tools in the toolbox. As you know, this is a complex issue. You and I worked on this for many, many years. And in this bill, what we're doing is focusing on the home-based childcare. And with the investment that we're going to do through the grants, we're going to be able to open thousands of opportunities for kiddos to have a safe place and within their communities through home-based childcare, because we will be helping people open new home-based childcare places in their home. We are really bringing back a process of registration and criminal background check and, the CPR training that was not available in the last 4 years that we think is critical. And at the same time, we're also going to be addressing areas, focusing on areas, especially in rural areas where there's no other places where people can access care, this type of child care solution. So I think the bill is a good mix of investment on infrastructure and having, moms, especially moms that want to stay home with their kids, but also create some income for home, right? Taking care of other kiddos in their community, have the tools to succeed when it comes to that business model, and have more spaces for families to have a place for their children.
Senator Escamilla, talk to us about the rural areas. I think Holly called those child care deserts, and how we can incentivize people in those particular difficult areas to get involved in child care and home-based child care.
Yeah, no, we did a report, and that's been covered by you guys extensively the last couple of years. The Women in the Economy Subcommittee worked very closely with experts, and part of our report was actually doing a needs assessment. And we have multiple counties, 2 or 3, where there's not a single licensed facility for childcare. So when we talk about childcare deserts, Utah ranks number 5 in the country, and we do have childcare deserts. So one is the issue of cost, that we obviously know families are struggling, but it's also an issue of access. Like if you don't have a place within 5 miles of where you live, that becomes a problem. And driving now half an hour to drop your baby somewhere, it really also affects the quality of life of those families. So we're trying to provide more spaces, safe spaces that have, high quality childcare services around the entire state. And I think this grant, through this incentives, is going to, promote so more people can do that in their homes and provide that service for their neighbors and community members.
Senator Escamilla, what kind of guidelines are there for in-home daycares? Is there a maximum? Is there a minimum?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
So that's a great question, and we're creating that third category, and that's a good question. That will be now the registered group of home-based childcare, and that is for individuals that care for kids, for more than 4 kids up to 10 kids. So this bill will bring that will be the category. Then from there, you actually have to be licensed. So we are saying, look, for this smaller amount of kiddos in this home-based childcare settings, they have to be registered with the state and have passed criminal background check and fingerprinting, and also do CPR training and emergency planning. So those are the requirements for this type of care, and mandatory reporting, which we think is important, any type of child abuse. And then from there, if you take care of more than 10 kiddos, then it moves into the licensure component.
And is the licensure part of this, Senator Escamilla, going to be more streamlined, more available, so that we can get more of these home-based child care situations set up?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's also going to create a database for people to know where those registered home-based child care places are. And so the state, we've been working with the Department of Health and Human Services that oversees that component, and we're excited to see that infrastructure put in place. So look, if I'm a parent, I want to know that if I go and I enter into a contractual agreement with, maybe my neighbor, right, to take care of my kids, and that person is a home-based registered child care home, that I know that they have criminal background checks done, that they are trained for CPR for basic, safety pieces, and that they're registering the state. So that gives me a peace of mind. This is about giving parents a peace of mind so they can go work and then come back and pick up their babies and, live, right? Because this is just life, how we have it. So if you want a bigger facility, then obviously those are already licensed, and there's some other stuff happening already there.
Yeah, having had a big family, 10 kids in your home at one time is kind of a lot. But but let me ask you this, Senator, if that's okay. I know this is only one piece of legislation out of, I think, a number of bills. Do you have time to speak to maybe one other bill that we can expect on Capitol Hill?
Yes. So I'm also running my location facility where we're doing that private-public partnership, where we will be utilizing one building of the state to actually open a large childcare facility, and combining efforts with the private sector to give 50% of those slots for state employees and community members, and the other 50% for the employer. But there's also some other bills related to, just tax. The investment and making sure that employers get tax. I'm trying to figure out what it is. The tax returns for them, tax breaks. Sorry, and so we have 2 of those: one for employers and one for individuals that we're expanding. So you're seeing about 4 to 5 bills just addressing the help for families. But it is the one for businesses will be actually doing a stackable between federal tax returns and the state. So those employers will be able to get a lot of that tax breaks back, and it will be a big impact for them.
So thank you for that. I really appreciate that. And you know that I have been a big fan of your bill to say, look, we are taking these buildings and we can turn them into licensed child care facilities. I'm wondering we only have about a minute left, but can you just address the safety concerns in Utah? In fact, I pulled up a story that said there was a baby that died in a daycare just recently. Yeah. Can you talk about that really briefly?
Yeah, so this is part of what my bill will be addressing, and thank you for bringing that back, because I've been addressing this for a couple of years. When you don't have a single place where people register, there's no accountability. And right now, even if we are aware of certain things, we have no statutory authority to shut down some of these places. And so right now it's under eight kiddos. I mean, so this incident that you're describing was an unregistered, unregulated place that should not have been caring actually for kids. And then after that fatality situation, right, very unfortunate loss of that baby. I mean, those are the things that person should not be taking care of kids right now, right? If there is a violation of rules, then right now we can't do anything. So that's why this bill will provide a framework. So at least we know who they are. They are getting checked in terms of criminal background checks and fingerprinting, and they have the minimum training to potentially save the life of one of the kiddos. So, those are important things, and I think this bill will close some of those gaps.
Thank you, Senator Escamilla. I love the word kiddos.
I know.
Several times.
Kiddos.
That's right.
We need to remind them. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Thanks.
You bet.
Thank you.
We'll be following that. We may be coming to a press conference here shortly, and when we do, we will break away. But this will involve the mother of Savannah Guthrie. We'll hopefully get some updates on that search when we come back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott. KSL's top story this hour. Expect a large law enforcement presence out on Utah's road this Super Bowl Sunday. Jason Metman from the Utah Highway Safety Office has a message for people who may be thinking of drinking and driving.
We have 26 police agencies, including the Utah Highway Patrol, that are going to be working over 75 additional DUI enforcement shifts just on Sunday. We're going to be out and about, making sure that people are getting to and from those parties safe. And there will be consequences that if you're out driving impaired or using drugs or alcohol to the point where you're not safe any longer out on the road, law enforcement's going to offer some consequences for you, and that's going to be a trip to jail.
State crash data shows alcohol-related crashes are over 14 times more fatal than other crashes. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The U.S. and Iran are set to discuss a nuclear deal tomorrow in Oman. ABC's News chief foreign correspondent Ian Pennell reports.
Although the amount of uranium, enriched uranium, and enriched to a certain point where you could conceivably start to use it to construct a nuclear weapon has been diminished by that action back in June. There are many people who are still concerned that there's about 400 kilograms or so of this material. Now, if it's just narrowly on that, and maybe a couple of other concessions, then potentially there is a deal to be done.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the talks must include Iranian missiles and its ties to terrorist proxies. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 363 points. The S&P is down 54. And coming up, sun and haze through the weekend. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hi, I'm Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. When the IRS invades your life, it's never good news. Keep in mind, it's not just you.
I owed roughly $34,000.
$61,000. When the IRS first contacted me, I was horrified.
When they start hounding you and harassing you and assaulting you.
Don't face the IRS alone. With everything in your life at stake, don't trust just anyone.
From what I got told was being done in a matter of 2 years, he had done in a matter of like 48 hours.
It's a great thing to have the IRS off your back.
We have reduced our tax liability by over $42,000.
Once I signed on with Jordan, I never talked to the IRS again.
It changed our lives.
You need someone to fight for you. Visit endtaxworry.com and get relief today. Let's solve your tax problems now. Visit endtaxworry.com. That's endtaxworry.com.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars4Kids. Call 1-877-CARS4KIDS to reach a friendly live agent. Donation's super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Call us now, 1-877-CARS-4-KIDS. That's Cars with a K to donate your car today.
1-877-CARS-4-KIDS. KARS, Cars for Kids. 1-877-CARS-4-KIDS. Donate your car today.
Did you know you can donate real estate too? Go to carsforkids.org. That's carsforkids.org.
You know, it's frustrating. It really is. You work your tail off for 40 plus years. The government takes 30 or 40% in taxes. Then they turn around and they waste your money. Americans are getting fed up, rightfully so. And that's why they're taking advantage of tax planning. Tax planning could significantly reduce your taxes, not just for 1 year, but for the rest of your life. Learn how much you could save in taxes when you retire with a free retirement tax savings analysis from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $300,000, schedule your free analysis now by calling 801-896-9622. Don't pay the government one more dime than you need to. Call today, 801-896-9622. That number again, 801-896-9622.
For informational purposes only, actual results may vary. No statement contained herein shall constitute tax, legal, or investment advice.
Emergency traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s, brought to you by UCCU. Transfer savings, earn more. UCCU. Love where you bank. Here's Michelle Rowe.
We have a multi-car crash southbound I-15 in Clearfield approaching SR 192. This is, or 193, I should say. The two of the three right lanes are blocked, and so traffic is having to move over to just the fast lane to get through that. So you're going to see those delays backing up into the Sunset Roy area. Traffic's rough, but your parking lot doesn't have to be. GoPave Utah keeps things smooth with expert asphalt maintenance at GoPaveUtah.com. That's GoPaveUtah.com. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
A high of 55 today with haze through the weekend. We'll see highs in the upper 50s before we finally see a storm front move in. That's around Tuesday. Right now it is 45 and sunny. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Well, it's now been 5 days since Nancy Guthrie, the mother of TV host Savannah Guthrie, has become missing from her home in Arizona. We're expecting just moments away a press conference from the Pima County officials providing an update, at least we hope an update, on what they've been able to learn so far. We have heard all kinds of things. This was originally treated as a crime scene, which of course makes perfect sense. There were some indications at one point, Holly, that they found blood at the scene. Somebody had asked before whether or not there was a ransom note or whether this was in fact a ransom. And Savannah Guthrie and her siblings have been just reaching out to the public saying if anybody can help us with this at all, and indicating that what she wants is just some sign of life, some proof that her mother's still alive.
And they also last night shared a plea to help find their mom.
We live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know without a doubt that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen.
Mama, if you're listening, we need you to come home. We miss you.
Yeah, and President Trump has reached out as well and dedicated federal resources, whatever is necessary, to help this out. So, I mean, I this has got to be just gut-wrenching for the family, and it's sort of gripped the nation, Holly. I mean, we're looking at this press conference, which is about to start any minute from now, and wondering what I think. I have a lot of questions about this, what they know, what they've discovered, and maybe they don't tell us everything they know, but I think people really want to know, if there's any updates at all.
Right. And, the timeline, we've talked about it on our show before, but her family dropped her off Saturday night at 9:30. And we think now, looking back, law enforcement thinks she was taken about 2 a.m. because that's when her pacemaker stopped syncing with her watch, which was left behind at the house. But it wasn't until she didn't go to church on Sunday that her church congregation became concerned and notified the family, and then they started to say, hey, we can't get a hold of her, and that's why they have considered it a crime scene. They did find blood at the crime scene. They did, or at the house. They did find some more outside. And we had questions at the beginning. Were there security cameras? Yes, there were. And yesterday we learned that one security camera is actually missing, the one by the front door, and that as of yesterday they weren't able to get footage off of those security cameras.
Yeah, and you could imagine with doorbell cameras, security cameras, and everything that may have been in that neighborhood, that they've probably combed every household in the vicinity to see, if they saw a car leaving at a certain time, if they've seen people walking around or scoping out the house or something like that. I assume that law enforcement, both state and federal, are working together closely on this to try to come up with something and get a suspect. But boy, the information has been really slow and forthcoming.
Really sparse. And what's interesting is that it feels to me like so far they haven't been able to confirm that ransom notes were even legitimate, right? And that they were asking for cryptocurrency. I thought it was particularly heartbreaking that Savannah Guthrie had to do a please send us a proof of life. I mean, that is heartbreaking. I can just imagine my parents, right, disappearing. They're about the same age. Just so heartbreaking.
Yeah,
sad.
just show us something. Give us some hope at all that something's going on, especially if you are asking for a ransom, because you're not going to go down that road if it's just if you're wasting your time. But if you would expect that if someone kidnaps Nancy Guthrie, and it's now been 5 days, that they would have come out and said,
these are our demands.
Some money. Here's
right.
what we're requesting here.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine, just based on what they've seen and what they've found, that there would have been any other reason for her abduction.
Well,
it just doesn't. There's not so much about this case that doesn't make sense, which is why
that's right.
We're sort of sitting at the edge of our chairs here, waiting for this press conference to start.
We talked with an ABC reporter earlier this week who was on the ground in Arizona, and he said it didn't look like a burglary even, because there were lots of things that were left behind that had it been a burglary, they would have expected that those items would have been taken, but they weren't.
Right. We did see some pictures on the floor of what looked to be blood drops that looked fairly fresh from what I saw in the video. The house has been secured, and they're treating it obviously as a crime scene. You said something about she had a pacemaker that was syncing with her Apple Watch or something that quit.
Yeah, her
at some
smartwatch.
point.
It quit at 2 a.m. on Sunday.
And they continue to show her picture. They've got phone numbers you can call. They've got anonymous sources. You as an anonymous source, you can make a call. And they're just trying to get anyone that has any information about this to come forward. But I'm guessing they don't have very much information at all.
We're going to go ahead and go to News Nation right now, because they do have some information. It's
that
not
you saw. I mean, are there potentially hidden or specific messages that the average person who doesn't have your background may have missed?
Well, they're basically. It's staged. I mean, it's obviously this is not the family doing it on their own. So they are coached on exactly what to say. But the most important thing is that you're looking for, when I'm looking at these videos, I'm looking for how good of a job are they doing, emphasizing the need of proof of life, humanizing her. And then also showing eventually the proof of possession, and that's what we're trying to get with these type of videos. Having all three kids or children of Nancy is important. It shows that they're unified. The usage of certain words like mommy and you're God's gift and things like this humanizes her and makes her less of an object. The other thing it does is it also kind of reminds the people who are holding her that they have within their possession a very vulnerable, potentially sick person, and there's a huge consequence here. If in fact, she would die or other things that they didn't expect happen. And so this is a communication directly to the kidnappers or the suspects, whoever they are, to gain proof of life, to let them know that there's consequences, to establish a negotiation, to show proof of possession, and to get this moving forward. Because if they don't do this, we're just in a reactive mode. And so it's a way to kind of spin that problem from being reactive to being proactive and putting the ball in their court, so to speak, so they have to react.
All right, so Ashley Banfield joined Leland Vittert last night. She says police may have a person of interest, that they just are not making it public. So my question for you, your reaction to that, and then how long until the DNA evidence is returned to investigators? Tuesday, we heard the sheriff say that they were still waiting on results. We obviously do not know what officials actually do and do not have, but when would those results be returned so they could at least maybe determine, who had been in the home around the hours that Nancy went missing?
Sure. Well, to answer your first question, on the person of interest or potential suspects, they probably have a number of potential suspects. I mean, just a matter of fact, you're going to look at the family. You're going to look at grievances. You're going to look at their friends. You're going to look at social media. You're going to look across the board to kind of see who might have a reason to do this, right? Because there's a number of motivations. The one that's out there right now based on reporting is that there's some sort of ransom. Okay. But it could be a grievance. It could be a number of different motivations that we don't know. And since they don't know that, they have to go and talk to everybody. Now, what I would probably say is, my guess is that I'm sure that they have some people of interest that they are honing down on right now. And then, of course, in answer to your DNA question, so there's a database called CODIS, right? And if I were an investigator, I picked up, say, blood at the scene, and if I remember right, I think it was I forgot who it was that pointed out. I think one of your correspondents pointed out the blood on the outside of the door. So that would be taken, right? And then that's going to be sent to a laboratory. So there's a little bit of time. It goes overnight to the laboratory. If it's already a match with some sort of person in there, like they already have the identifying information, it's a much faster match. If it doesn't, then what they're going to have to do is maybe there wasn't a match. And so now they need to go find maybe other DNA for comparison. And so maybe the reason that they went back to that crime scene, okay, and reopened that crime scene, was to get more evidence based on what the DNA analysis had said previously, right? Because if you don't have a person already in the system in CODIS to match it against, then you're going to have to do it against maybe family members, very much like the Kober case. When they did that with the family members trying to look at DNA profiles and things. And so you just have to follow.
We've been following News Nation as we prepare for the press conference. It's about to begin regarding the search for Nancy Guthrie. When the authorities there in Pima, Arizona are starting that, we will break away to that, but we're going to take a break for just a moment.
Hi, this is Doug Wright, and when my wife Dee and I moved into our new home a few years back, would you care to guess what was one of the first purchases we made for the home?
It was a water softener, Doug.
That's right, but not just any water softener. The fact is, Dee and I, just won't settle for anything less than Kinetico. For one thing, Kinetico softeners are so well designed, they use 2/3 less salt than other softeners. And I tell you, my back really appreciates carrying in just one bag of salt compared to 3 that my neighbors are carrying in. For another, Kinetico's all-mechanical design never needs adjustment, even if the power goes out or some household water use changes. In fact, it's virtually maintenance-free, meaning there are no annoying knobs to fiddle with. You really should look into the water softener from Kinetico. To learn more, call Kinetico of Utah at 801-576-8600 or go to softwaterutah.com. That's softwaterutah.com.
Emergency traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s, brought to you by UCCU. Transfer savings, earn more. UCCU, love where you bank. This is emergency traffic southbound I-15 in Clearfield, approaching SR 193 due to a crash that is blocking the right lanes. Traffic is backed up into the Roy area. Michelle Rowe, KSL News Radio.
A family office is a team built to handle the 3 biggest financial responsibilities a family faces: wealth management, tax strategy, and estate planning. Most firms only manage your investments and refer the rest out, hoping everyone stays aligned. At Trajan, we built something different. Your wealth, tax planning, and estate planning are handled together inside one firm under one roof. There's no guessing whether your CPA, advisor, and estate attorney are truly in sync, because our team works together every day on your behalf. When your financial life becomes more complex, your advice should become more coordinated, not more fragmented. One plan, one trusted team. Call Trajan today, 801-207-9900. That's 801-207-9900.
Trajan Wealth, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Additional services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax. Additional disclosures and accreditation at TrajanWealth.com.
Officials are giving some update on the missing search for missing Nancy Guthrie. These are Yuma, Arizona. It looks like the sheriff is speaking now.
So, if you would keep them in your prayers, Colonel Gulliver and his team, I'm sure, would have greatly appreciated it. Along the same lines, I think you all saw last night, I'm trying to speak up, not yell, because apparently I talk soft. We saw last night the family, they just hurt, understandably so. And so I really want you to know this entire team here, those behind me, and our community are hurting with you. We really just want Mom back, okay? Right now, we believe Nancy is still out there. We want her home. Our department, the Sheriff's Department, along with all of our partners at the FBI, have been working around the clock. And we just want her home and find a way to get to the bottom of all of this, just as you do. But I have other partners out there who have stepped up, and you've probably noticed them in the last few days, if not the last few hours, and you're going to see more of that. Well, I made a decision to contact our PCRIT team, and those of you not local, that's our Pima Regional Critical Incident Team. It's made up of law enforcement officers from this entire valley. Pascua Yaqui Police Department, Tucson Police Department, Marana Police Department, Oro Valley Police Department, Pima College Police Department, Tucson International Police Department, Sarita Police Department. There's so many of them, and they are going to help us tremendously. And that's really done because we have so much in front of us still, and we're hoping that, I know the FBI has committed a very large number of men and women to partner with us, work side by side with us. We go do an interview, they're going to be there with us. We're going to go look at some evidence or process evidence, they're going to be right there with us. We're sharing every piece of information, all the data we can to get this thing solved. And it's important that my partners in law enforcement know and understand their roles, because it is very large, complex investigation with a lot of moving parts. And we're at that phase now where sometimes we're waiting, right? We're waiting for analysis, we're waiting for lab reports. But even then, when they come back quickly, for example, some DNA, we rushed what we thought was the best target for DNA. We did a rush through and got some of that back. The results were minimal. I think you all know the blood on the porch. That was one we did. It came back to Nancy. That's what we know. But there's still more items that have been submitted. We just haven't got them back yet. But in the meantime, we're not just sitting on our haunches waiting. We do have a number of leads coming in, and that's why we brought in the FBI for one, but PCRIT as well, to be able to get out there and handle these leads as they come in as quickly and as expeditiously as we can. And every single lead is looked at, every one of them. And so we're gearing up. You probably have some questions about what you've seen in the last couple of days. I'll gladly answer those at that time. But it really is about getting our partners out there. To be fair, when we went to that scene the first night, Saturday night, it was just us. Since then, the FBI and others have asked, can we go and see it as well? And that's what you've been seeing. But it is a very important case to not just me and my team, but this entire community, all of our law enforcement partners. Suspects. I know there's been a lot out there about suspects, and I want to be very clear. At this time, we have not identified a suspect or a person of interest in this case. We are working our best to do that. But to be clear, we have nobody of interest or any suspects that you would consider a prime suspect. We're just not there. We're not there yet. The timeline, I think we've got it on the board, do we not? This is a timeline that we have been able to develop with some of the things that we've had processed. Various pieces of electronics that we've gathered. And you look at some of this, and I know you're going to say, well, why did it take you so long to get this to us, Sheriff? Well, because one thing, it's got to go out and be processed at different lab sites, and sometimes that stuff comes back to us, and like you, we have questions. And we say, wait a minute, what is this about? What about this? Could it be that? And so it's sent back, or it's sent somewhere else. So, and that's happening with all of the things we see, that process, that review, and that questioning of, all right, what is it we're looking at? So I'll go over it with you. You can see it on the board there, but at about 5:32 p.m., these are approximate times. 5:32 p.m., Nancy travels to her local family's home for dinner and playing games with the family, just visiting. At 9:48 p.m., which is very consistent to what we were told by the family, that Nancy was dropped off at home, and we know that because we have a garage door open at approximately, I can't stress that enough, at approximately 9:48 p.m. At 9:50 p.m., that garage door closes, which is that time we assume that Nancy's home and probably going to bed. Sunday morning, early morning at 1:47 a.m., the doorbell camera disconnects. At 2:12 a.m., software detects a person on a camera, but there's no video available. They had no subscription, and therefore it would rewrite itself. It just kind of loops, right, and covers up. That's what our analysis teams have told us. We're not done with that. We'll do all we can, but that's what it says. So that detects a person on camera. Could that be an animal? I imagine that's possible. We don't know that. We just have no video. But we're not giving up on that. 2:28, Nancy's pacemaker app shows that it was a disconnect from the phone. And at 11:56 a.m., the family checks on Nancy and discovers her missing. And at 12:03 p.m., 911 is called in to the Pima County Sheriff's Department. I believe it's about approximately 10 minutes later, 12 minutes later, our patrol teams arrive. They see the scene, and we start our response with our search and rescue teams and our detectives from homicide and various units. In fact, every unit here, I think somebody questioned, how come there's an ICAC member out here, or this member? Everybody in our criminal investigations team is a part of this team and part of this investigative effort. I think with that, let me make sure. Now, I want to clarify some things that I may have already done, but yeah, I've gone over with the blood at the front door, the doorbell camera. It was removed, we know that, but we're not confirming that any cameras were smashed or destroyed around the house. I don't know where that came from, but that's something we're not confirming. The car, the car that was at the home, it's just standard investigative practices. It's part of the search warrant scene, court orders. We pull it out of there and do our scene processing with the vehicle. Uber, we did speak to a driver because Nancy, we learned, had been taken the Uber to the family residence, the daughter, for dinner. And we located that driver and spoke with them and got that information. The house, you guys got this, I think, conducting follow-up I think you said somebody had mentioned that they saw a team out there again last night or yesterday, and that's just, again, what I was talking about before. Our partners wanted a chance to see it and examine things themselves, and more importantly, it's just we're constantly following up on things and go, hey, what about this? So we want to go back and check on some things. Here's the other thing. Someone had mentioned there was forced entry. I have no clue where that comes from. We have been very consistent. We are not discussing that at all, whether it's forced entry or not forced entry. That is something we're just not discussing. So I don't know where anybody got that information. I think I am about done.
We're
with
listening
my
to Chris
piece of
Nanos,
this. I'm going to
Pima
introduce
County, Arizona
Bring up
Sheriff,
here,
he outlines the details in terms of the timeline and the investigation into Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy, who's been missing now for 5 days.
Special agent in charge for the state of Arizona out of Phoenix, and he will come up and speak.
Thank you, Sheriff. Hello, I'm Heath Yankee, the special agent in charge of the FBI's Phoenix Division. First, I want to let the Guthrie family know that our hearts are heavy for them. After seeing your message last night, it is clear that you and your family are in pain. Please know that we are doing everything to bring your mother home. The FBI is now working this case jointly with the Pima County Sheriff's Department, and we're going to start today by announcing a $50,000 reward for information leading to the recovery of Nancy Guthrie and or the arrest and conviction of anyone involved in her disappearance, and this will be the missing persons with the reward that will be going out. The FBI has agents, analysts, and professional staff employees working day and night with our partners at the Sheriff's Department. We have deployed additional intelligence and agents from our Phoenix office. We have brought in our Critical Incident Response Group from Quantico, Virginia. Members from our Cellular Analysis Survey team are here, and they continue to collect and process digital information. We are actively reviewing and analyzing information from all digital sources, which includes banks, social media companies, phone companies, and any other organizations where a digital footprint could have been captured. All this information provides data points and helps put the picture together. And we will be in the community continuing to conduct a thorough investigation with our partners. You heard about us out there last night. We will be back out there today. I would ask the media, give our investigators the space to do their jobs while they're out there. Next, regarding the ransom letter. We are aware of a ransom letter that was sent to the local media and then to national outlets. As with every lead, we are taking it seriously. We are in communication with the family, and while we advise and recommend from a law enforcement perspective, any action taken on any ransom is ultimately decided by the family. Thank you to those in the community that have called in tips. For anyone out there that may have information, no matter how small you think it may be, please report it. You can do so by calling 1-800-CALL-FBI or online at tips.fbi.gov. My next message is to those imposters who are trying to take advantage and profit from this situation. We will investigate and ensure you are held accountable for your actions. We have made one arrest related to an imposter ransom demand, and a complaint will be presented to a magistrate judge later today. You will get more on that from the FBI and our U.S. Attorney's Office here in Arizona when it becomes available. To anyone that may be involved, do the right thing. This is an 84-year-old grandma. This is an 84-year-old grandma that needs vital medication for her well-being. You still have the time to do the right thing before this becomes a much worse scenario for you. Please return Nancy home. Thank you.
You can call them up.
Okay, so the first person we're going to start with the list is going to be NBC.
That was Special Agent in Charge Heath Jenke from the FBI, who indicated a couple of things that I thought were interesting. One, that they've now formed together a $50,000 reward for information to help solve this. We're talking about the missing mother of Savannah Guthrie, Nancy Guthrie, 84-year-old, who was taken from her home 5 days ago, and that there have been some fraudulent imposters coming forward demanding a ransom. It's the kind of thing you just can't even imagine somebody would be so cold as to do that. They've indicated, I think he said they've taken one person into custody so far because of that fake ransom, I guess. You know, they went through a timeline that I thought was really interesting, and one of the things that occurred to me was at 1:47 a.m. on February 1st, that the doorbell camera was disconnected, and that the software detected a person later on. I mean, taking apart the doorbell camera or disconnecting it, that seems concerning. Yeah, that's really very, very concerning, and it shows that there was it appears to me there was a significant level of planning in this.
Yeah, we're going to take a really short break, Greg, and then we'll be back with more on Inside Sources.
My friend Joey means well. Always remember that the early bird gathers no moss. But he gets a little confused. You know, you can't make a silk purse out of a wooden nickel. Like Joey, many of us can be confused when it comes time to plan for retirement. When to take Social Security, how to use that 401k, what about the stock market, taxes, and Medicare? Todd Kim at Galileo Wealth Management can help to simplify retirement planning. His goal is to have you walk into retirement with confidence, not worry, and to address the number one concern among retirees today, the fear of running out of money. Call Galileo Wealth today for a no-cost, no-obligation meeting to talk about the details of your retirement. 385-247-7000. It's 385-247-7000 or online, GalileoWealth.com. And remember, one man's trash is thicker than water. Of course, water's not thick at all, it's watery.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Do you want to walk, play pickleball, and enjoy other fun activities to stay healthy, but you can't because of bad feet? Hi, this is Mike, and the Good Feet store wants to help.
I just had difficulty walking. I tried them on in the store, and my foot felt so much better.
Do you keep buying new shoes and inserts with little or no relief?
I tried all kinds of shoes. It was the arch supports that made the difference from the Good Feet store.
Don't let bad feet, knees, or back problems get in the way of staying healthy and having fun.
Thanks to the Good Feet store, I'm bowling 3 nights a week.
Get back to doing what you love. At the Good Feet store, we'll personally fit you at high-quality arch supports to maximize your comfort. Stop in the Good Feet store or book your free fitting at goodfeet.com. We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
If you buy your own health insurance for yourself or your business, you know it can be confusing even in normal times. This year is even tougher. You need to speak with an expert. At My Policy Quote, that's what you'll get. Would you get a surgery without a surgeon? I'm Mike at My Policy Quote. I've been in insurance for 12 years. Most people think when you sign up for an ACA government plan on the marketplace, you're stuck with it for the entire year. Not true. You can stop and enroll with me anytime, all year long. Most of my clients see 47% lower premiums and even more with gold level plans. My Policy Quote has access to true private insurance based solely on your health and the coverage you select, not based on your income. My client Julie started a health plan this January 1st for $1,468 with a $10,600 deductible on an HMO. I got her into a $2,500 deductible, national PPO for $737 a month. If you pay your own health insurance, you're on COBRA, even self-employeds or small businesses, call me, Mike, today. 385-367-6779. Again, that's 385-367-6779. Or visit mypolicyquote.com. That's mypolicyquote.com to get started now.
The new Inside Sources.
You know, Holly, we were waiting for this press conference involving the search for a missing mother of Savannah Guthrie, and I was sort of waiting to see what kind of information would come out, something that we would knew that we didn't know in the past, and there were a few tidbits. The worst thing we heard, I think, was that they don't have a suspect or even a person of interest. So they don't have any idea who did this. At least that's what we're hearing so far. And that, in fact, some person has come forward with a false,
saying, "Hey, it was me.
Demand.
Send me money."
Oh my word. I mean,
that's so weird, and I wonder how often that happens. But
there was also some blood found at the scene, and of course they ran a DNA test on that and got results back in record time, and it turns out that it was Nancy Guthrie's blood. So it's not something we can lead to a suspect.
Right, that it was outside on the porch, and that was one of the things they were curious about. And, before we went to break, you had mentioned that was something that was interesting, is they disconnected the doorbell camera.
Yeah.
Somebody disconnected it.
Yeah, so she came home on the 31st about 9:50, closed the garage door, and then at 1:47 a.m. the doorbell camera is disconnected. I don't even know how you do that externally. You would think that there would be something from the inside, and unless somebody had broken into the house by then, but then they would have been on the doorbell camera. And then there's some other surveillance that said that some person was walking around 2 o'clock, but they don't have video of that. And he even indicated it could very well have been an animal or something, because once the doorbell camera is disabled, you don't have much information that you're gaining. But I mean, I'm learning about this case. What we don't know is far more than what they know.
Well, the sheriff is taking questions right now, and so is the FBI. What did you call him? Special agent in charge.
Right.
So we can go back to that press conference and see the latest update there.
No, it does not. And that is what I think is important, that if someone has Nancy and is demanding the ransom, that there is communication with the family. We talked about has been no proof of life, and there was no other demands within that letter. So they're still waiting for communication.
ABC affiliate Ashley Holden. Right here, Ashley Holden. When you say the doorbell camera was disconnected, do you believe that camera was taken?
We do not have it in our possession. We've not located it.
And then a follow-up. I know that we've been hearing a lot about ransom notes. We were also hearing in that video that was put out by the Guthrie siblings, and I don't know if this is a question for the FBI or yourself, but the challenges of seeing an image and knowing that it's real. Could one of you address that? Has the family received correspondence, any images, videos?
So we're not going to go into facts regarding this part of the investigation. I think part of that message was, with AI these days, you can make videos that appear to be very real. So we can't just take a video and trust that is a proof of life these days, because of the advancements in AI and trying to actually get a proof of life that we can verify. But we're not going to go into anything the family may or may not have received.
Okay, well, Catherine Patterson. So in regards to a timeline on that ransom note, is that being an impact in your investigation? Are we nearing that timeline?
I'm sorry, one more time.
So in regards to the timeline in the ransom note, are we nearing that timeline? And is that playing a part in the investigation?
We're not going to go again into specifics of that part of the investigation with the ransom note, other than what we've put out there. We've been transparent. We're talking about we are working that ransom demand, but we don't want to go anything further than that could impact any opportunities. So thank you.
Is there any additional physical evidence at the crime scene other than the technology that you guys are using for this timeline? Is there anything else that's helping you guys other than really the technology?
Well, I think I said on day one is that it's technology that's going to really help us solve this case. But no, I mean, we did do a process of that scene for biological evidence, so we're still hopeful that maybe something will show up there as well.
Arizona Republic, Richard Relas.
Agent Yankee? Yes. We saw on the scene, I believe it was you, taking a tripod into the home of the sister. How involved was the FBI, if at all, in creating the video? Any advice for the family on what to say to them?
I would say we use our expertise and provide consultation and advice anytime a family would ask for our advice in a kidnapping. It's ultimately the family's decision of what they put out and any messages they put out. But we were, obviously, you're all documenting every move we make. We were there last night in talking with the family. but every decision is theirs.
We've been following the press conference here involving missing Nancy Guthrie. A couple of other interesting things that have come out to me, Holly. The ransom note mentioned the Apple Watch and the floodlight, and the significance of that is that tells me that they believe whoever issued that particular ransom note knew something. That's something you would put in a ransom note
to prove that
you know something. So the fact that about the Apple Watch becoming disconnected from her pacemaker or whatever it was, okay, that's something. If it hadn't come out in the public light by then, and it came out in the ransom note, that person knows something.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that they really were talking about AI, and that you can generate. We know this. You can generate AI images, deep fakes. And that they don't believe so far that they've gotten any proof of life from the person or people who may have taken Nancy Guthrie. And, my question that they didn't address and maybe won't at a press conference is, after 5 days, how long do you keep going on this? I mean, obviously they're going to keep going until they have an answer, but 5 days is a long time.
Right, and a woman who has some medical conditions we know as well, probably is on medication, had a pacemaker, which has become disconnected from her Apple Watch. At least they're not getting information about that anymore. So this is a woman that probably shouldn't be unattended for 5 days.
Well, we know also that she was not able to walk very far on her own, so she does have some, I guess, incidences of age, right, being older. But we're going to continue to follow that situation. But when we come back after the break, we'll be wrapping up today's show, and we do have some facts of the day. Not all of them are fun.
Jeff Kaplan here. You need your house painted and you want it done at the right price. So I want to suggest you get a quote from the professionals at CertaPro Painters. It's not just a coat of paint, it's your home. That's why from the estimate to the cleanup, they're going to work to exceed your expectations. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated right here in our community. They're committed to quality at the right price. Schedule your free estimate online at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. CertaPro.com.
Respiratory virus season is quickly approaching, meaning we'll see more flu, COVID, and RSV in our community. The good news is vaccines are available that will help prevent these infections and keep people healthy. For flu and COVID, everyone aged 6 months and older are recommended to be vaccinated to help protect ourselves and our families against serious illness. Fall remains the best time to be vaccinated. Respiratory viruses circulate year-round, but peak late fall through winter. Your doctor can recommend which vaccines are best for you and your family.
Brought to you by Intermountain Health and KSL News Radio.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. You know, the big wireless companies say they have discounts for people over 55, but unless you're willing to sit on hold and ask, you're probably paying more than you should. At Consumer Cellular, there's nothing to hunt down. We're built for people 50 plus with plans starting at just $20. And our 100% US-based customer service actually answers the phone. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today and get your second month free for a limited time.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Big tax changes this year could mean a bigger refund, and Jackson Hewitt knows how to get you your biggest. You'll get $100 just to try us. That won't make you filthy rich, but definitely gas plus groceries rich. And since we know all the new tax codes, you could get thousands back, which would make you low-key loaded. Or at least wealthy adjacent? Go with our trusted pros and get $100 to switch. Rest easy. Jackson Hewitt's got your taxes. Guaranteed. Limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Career and technical education, known as CTE, plays an important role in educational outcomes and economic growth across Utah. To talk about a new effort strengthening that connection, we're joined by Edson Barton, CEO of UScience and co-chair of the Utah Career Connected Learning Coalition.
The Utah Career Connected Learning Coalition brings together leaders from education, industry, and government to ensure career and technical education is understood, supported, and aligned with Utah's key economic drivers. Today, more than 187,000 Utah students are enrolled in CTE courses, gaining practical, career-ready skills before graduation. These programs already contribute billions of dollars in personal income and state tax revenue, proving their value to Utah's economy. The Utah Career Connected Learning Coalition also aims to address misconceptions that can undervalue CTE despite its clear success in preparing students for high-demand fields. Just as importantly, CTE creates opportunity for students from all backgrounds. For example, students in CTE achieve a 98% graduation rate. Ultimately, the Utah Career Connected Learning Coalition's goal is to build a stronger, more resilient workforce that supports Utah's long-term economic growth.
The Utah Career Connected Learning Coalition is strengthening CTE to expand career pathways for students and build a skilled workforce for Utah's future. To learn more, visit cteworksforutah.org. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
This message is for Shauna, my mom, who just finished her high school diploma. I wanted to say I'm so proud of you for finishing school. You taught me it's never too late to achieve your dreams. I hope to make you as proud as you have made me.
When you graduate, they graduate. Finish your high school diploma for you and for them. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
You can't escape a traffic jam. Know what else you can't escape? Seasonal allergies. And you might think you can avoid that coffee stain until... Oh, really? You can't escape a lot of things in life, but you can escape prediabetes. Prediabetes captures 1 in 3 adults. There are usually no signs of prediabetes. In fact, most people don't even know they have it. But with early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Take action by taking the 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. You might not be able to escape having this song stuck in your head, but you can escape prediabetes. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Inside Sources. This day in the history of the Winter Games on Inside Sources. Brought to you by America First Credit Union.
All right, so on this day in the Winter Games, there was a surprise medal for a Vermonter in the Innsbruck, Austria Games. This was February 5th, 1976. And American Bill Koch finished second in the 30-kilometer Nordic race, and he was the first American cross-country skier to ever medal in the Winter Games.
I remember that very
Do
well.
you
Yeah,
really?
that was because that's one of those events that you're like, who can do that? Who
Right?
has the stamina? Who can?
30 kilometers is a good
I've done some
distance.
cross-country skiing, and 2 kilometers knocks me over.
So it was on this day, February 5th, the first American ever medaled in the Winter Games. So look, we know that the Winter Games officially kick off tomorrow in Italy, but what's interesting to me is they have to do some preliminary competitions beforehand. And one of the things, in fact, this is the Google Doodle of the day, is curling. So curling is a sport when I see it and I just like, what is that? But this is what it is. So it's a game, not a game. It's a competition. It's a sport where players are on a long, narrow sheet of ice and they're sliding a 20-kilogram or 44-pound granite stone towards a target called the house. Some people call it chess on ice, but it's interesting to me because when you see it, you've got these people with brooms who are out in front of this stone that's being shoved down the ice. And I learned that the brooms are there because if you do it really fast, you can actually heat up the temperature of the ice so that it melts just a little and your stone will go a little faster.
Yeah, and to me it's more like shuffleboard on ice.
I know, it really is. It really
It's
is.
a game. I'll tell you what, if they're doing curling in February of 2024 or 5, nobody watches it.
I know.
But if it's part of the games,
Everybody
everybody's
watches.
watching it. It's the Winter Games, and they're doing curling. I'm signing up, and I'm going to watch, even though it's not the most fast-moving sport of all time.
Well, it's interesting. So they have started some of the preliminary, qualifiers. And that's one of the ones that they started is curling today.
Yeah, they do that with in the summer games for basketball and
Yeah,
baseball
that's right.
because they have so
Yeah.
many levels that you have to get through. You can't wait to start after the games start. You can start some of the early rounds of competition so that you can get it done in the time that they were set aside for the games.
I think today we actually have an ice hockey game today for part of a preliminary
Another
game.
example,
Yeah,
right,
another
yeah.
example. So I have some other These are less than fun facts, to be honest. So, on this day in 1941, it's interesting and weird, but Adolf Hitler scolded Mussolini from Italy for not fighting hard enough, right? Right. So, if you remember, it was
1941.
So World War II, Mussolini retreated in the face of British advances in Libya, and Hitler was like, "My dude, you are not fighting hard enough. Like, buck up and do more," right? We both know it didn't end well for either one of those.
Right.
But yeah, so Hitler was telling Mussolini he needed to fight harder.
Yeah, I was trying to think in context of that war where things stood in 1941, but that made a little more sense.
Yeah. On this day in 1994, actually, white supremacist Brian De La Beckwith was convicted of killing Medgar Evers. It was more than 30 years after the crime, but he actually was convicted of that death. So that was, again, 1994.
You know, there are certain crimes that there is no statute of limitations, and homicide's one of those. And some certain sex crimes and crimes involving children can be prosecuted any time, like a shoplifting or something. You've got a couple of years, but you would expect that cases like that, they go forever, and law enforcement can continue to work them no matter how long it takes.
So his killer was the one who was convicted. He was a Klansman. He was part of the Ku Klux Klan. But the Trump administration is changing visitor brochures for the Medgar Evers Home National Monument to avoid using the word racist. So I don't know what changing that history might do to the story, but it's a weird fact, I guess.
Right.
And then on this day in 2012, I remember this day. I'm sure you remember this day too, because it was on this day that Josh Powell killed himself and his two sons by blowing up their house.
And that ended a long-standing search. And we've talked to Dave Cowley a little bit about that, Susan Cox Powell, looking for her. Of course, she's never been found. And any chance, virtually any chance they ever would have expected to find her, I think, went up when he died. And that was the ultimate act of cowardice, because he locked himself into his house with his children.
I know.
With those boys, and then torched the house. And it was, I think DCFS was at the door, pounding at the door, trying to get in. I know,
because they locked it, and they were dropping them back off after I think for a supervised visit or something, and he took the boys inside, locked the door. One of the things that came out after that really tragic incident was that he had tried to kill his boys with a hatchet before blowing up the entire house and blowing up himself. So,
and there were certainly lawsuits involving the state at the time in terms of should have taken better care of those boys and not put them back in his custody. Of course,
there's lots of hindsight.
2020,
Lots of hindsight. Look, I want to go back to the Olympics, and this is not specific to February 5th, but is specific to one of the Winter Games stories that I really, really loved at the time. And this was Eddie the Eagle. Do you remember Eddie the Eagle?
He's from Great
England,
Britain.
yeah. And he was an English ski jumper. It was 1988, so we're showing our age. He was the first competitor to represent Great Britain in the Olympic ski jumping, and he finished last. And if I remember right, he didn't. You go down the hill and then you got to go back up. He couldn't even make it all the way down.
He was kind of a bigger guy, and it was interesting.
He was.
And he took a lot of attention. I mean, it was like the Jamaican bobsled sled
That's right.
team. There are certain times when you get an athlete or
cool
group of athletes that are just so interesting and so compelling that they become a story all by themselves.
He did become a story all by himself. But you know what? I think the Winter Games officials were not impressed, and so they changed the rules so that people like Eddie couldn't compete again.
You have to qualify.
You have to qualify in other international competitions before you just show up and say, "Hey, I'm here.
Hey, I'm here. I'm Eddie the Eagle. Let me run down."
So
the course.
He's my age actually. So it's really interesting. And bless his heart, his actual birth name is Michael, but he became known as Eddie the Eagle. And he just, that image of him bending over his skis, and he doesn't make it all the way down the mountain, but bless his heart for trying. Right. There's another story just about the Winter Games that's unfolding right now, and there's a figure skater who likes to wear minion costumes, and there was a little bit of back and forth between the owner of the trademark and this ice skater, but they finally resolved it, and he's going to be able to dress as a Minion, and then he uses music from it, and he's a Spanish skater. He finally got all the approvals to do it. But you know the Minions.
I was going to
okay.
time out. What's a Minion?
So the Minions are the little yellow characters from what's the show?
Yeah, their persona, their whole head is this.
Yeah. So they're
fun. They're
the
cute.
the yellow creatures with
Right.
the Minions. So it was a copyright issue that he had, and they've resolved it. So he's going to be able to skate to that, which is really funny.
Oh, I thought he was dressed as a Minion.
Well, he is both. So it
That'd
was
be
a
hard to
two
skate
thing.
looking like that.
Well, he doesn't have it on
Just
his
have-
head. It's
right,
his shirt,
okay,
right?
yeah.
It's bright yellow and it's got the face on
That's
it. So
cute.
yeah, on the Minions. So
People will be watching for him.
people will be watching.
Yeah.
So look, today's show, we talked a little bit about some of the 808. There's probably gone up since we started the show. 807 bills up on Utah's Capitol Hill. They're never going to get through all the bills. But we also have the Olympics, and we also have Nancy Guthrie, who's missing, and the FBI and local law enforcement have now upped that reward to $50,000.
Yeah, and that press conference is ongoing, although it appears that every question is being answered with the same, we don't know the answer to that yet. So we had hoped that we'd get more information. Of course, I'm sure the family did as well. And I assume that we'll get more as the time passes. But a ransom note with no follow-up, no way of communicating back to the individual.
Which seems unusual.
But it does contain just a little information about the things that were going on at the time that maybe someone had to be on the inside to know about. So
yeah,
that's interesting. Well, we do know that the Arizona officials are now offering a $50,000 reward for information involving Nancy Guthrie, Savannah Guthrie's mother, who's been missing since Sunday. Now that's 5 days. Midday with Maria Chaleos is up next with all the news you need to know. Stay with us right here on KSL News Radio.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. KSL News Time is 12 o'clock noon, and